Chapter 93. Now that the auction had begun, it was time for everyone to pick their pet beasts based on their own abilities and bid for them. One had to know that when there were many bidders, some obviously good ferocious beasts would often be sold at sky-high prices. In the last ferocious beast auction, there was a pet beast with a precious bloodline that was eventually sold at the price of 1,500 mid-grade spirit stones. 1,500 mid-grade spirit stones could be converted into 15,000 low-grade spirit stones, which would be more than 40,000 taels of silver. This was an astronomical figure. Of course, most of the pet beasts being auctioned had already undergone preliminary evaluations. A simple evaluation report would be placed next to the cages. However, there were no more advanced evaluation reports. It wasn't that they couldn't hire an advanced beast appraiser, but the auction had to adhere to the tradition of treasure hunting and stone gambling. Sometimes, a seemingly ordinary pet beast might have a hidden bloodline with extraordinary potential and could be bought with a small amount of money. At other times, pet beasts that everyone fought for would be bought for a large sum of money, only to end up being average. Similar incidents happened at every auction. Hence, some capable buyers would hire their own beast appraisers to hunt for treasures. "Master Liao, I'm counting on you," Zhu Tianli said. Zhu Tianli said at this moment. This time, he had personally come out to fight with a junior like Zhu Can for the purchasing rights. In reality, it was already very degrading for him. However, Zhu Tianli knew that he had to do this. Otherwise, his elder brother's influence would only grow. Now, he could still resist. Of course, he would try his best to fight for power. If he only remembered to resist when he couldn't, it would be too late for regrets. This time, he was betting on Master Liao. Master Liao nodded confidently. "Don't worry, Mr. Zhu. I've been appraising beasts for half my life. How could I lose to a young brat? He's bound to lose this time." "That's great." Zhu Tianli was elated. If everything went well, he could deal a heavy blow to Zhu Can. This way, he could also deal a blow to Zhu Can's father, Zhu Tianhong. It would be best if Zhu can mess things up so that the family elders would question Zhu Tianhong's leadership abilities. Only then would Zhu Tianli have a chance. On the other side, Lin Jin said to Zhu Can, "Let's begin too. How many spirit stones do you have?" Zhu Can had absolute confidence in Lin Jin, so he said, "My father said that we should get at least 3 pet beasts with decent potential for our juniors to form blood packs with. Based on the number of low-grade spirit stones we can use, we have around 2,000. 2,000 low-grade spirit stones. It was quite a lot. With a plan in mind, Lin Jin said, "I'll appraise the beast later. I'll let you know if I can offer a price." Beside them, Lu Xiaoyan and Zhu Yingying looked excited, especially Lu Xiaoyan. She took out her notebook, ready to watch Lin Jin appraise beasts and learn from him up close. Only then did Lin Jin learn that the auction would have a total of 3 rounds, and each round would last about an hour. Then, the next round would be followed by a replacement of pet beasts. Hence, some people would hold on to their coins and wait for the 3rd round to see if there would be any pet beast that would be auctioned off in the grand finale. Soon, Lin Jin noticed a huge problem. All the pet beasts on sale were kept in cages, and they couldn't be approached. They could only be appraised from afar. Regular beast appraisers could use their spiritual eye to examine the beasts, but Lin Jin was relying on the Museum of Deadly Beasts. Without touching the pet beasts, he couldn't appraise them. Lin Jin was dumbfounded. Moreover, the venue was very spotless. There weren't any fur or scales from the caged pet beasts either. After circling around, Lin Jin still didn't make a move. His expression was grim. He couldn't go on like this. Spiritual eye was a skill Lin Jin obtained from his predecessor. It was a rather average skill. The Museum of Deadly Beasts did have a more powerful spiritual eye appraisal skill, but now that he was forced to do it, he couldn't immediately learn how to use it. Fortunately, there was always a way out. Lin Jin knew that there was an acupuncture technique in the pulse-seeking technique, the coiled wire needle. This acupuncture technique focused on condensing a natal silver needle, nourished with spirit energy, and after connecting their minds, the silver needle would become a part of Lin Jin's body. He could stab and retract the needle at will, appearing and disappearing mysteriously and unpredictably. Lin Jin had been cultivating the pulse-seeking technique. For the past few days, whenever he had the time, he would cultivate. His natal silver needle was almost fully nourished. Now, he just needed to familiarize himself with the coiled wire needle, and he could use this technique to appraise beasts. As long as he pricked a pet beast, it would be like touching it with his own hands and feet. The Museum of Deadly Beasts would automatically appraise the beast. Lin Jin stood in a corner. On the surface, it looked like he was observing the beast in the cages, but in reality, he was sneaking into the museum to familiarize himself with the coiled wire needle technique. As he was too engrossed in his work, half an hour went by in an instant. The time for the first round of bidding had passed, but Lin Jin still hadn't made a move. Zukin watched from the side. He would be lying if he said he wasn't anxious. However, seeing Lin Jin deep in thought with his eyes closed, he dared not disturb him. Fortunately, there were still 2 more rounds of bidding, and many people didn't make a move in the first round either. Don't panic. Master Lin must have his reasons for not making a move. Lu Xiaoyan couldn't help but comfort Zhu Kan and Zhu Yingying when she saw the anxiety on their faces. On the other side, Zhu Tianli and Master Liao walked over with a number plate in their hands. Obviously, Master Liao had already made his move in the first round. Noticing that Lin Jin still hadn't made a move, Master Liao couldn't resist mocking him. Young man, although the show is about to start, the competition for the remaining pet beasts will only get more intense. Pet beasts that can be found in the first round are all highly cost-effective. You may seem cautious, but you're actually just being a coward. I advise you to give up and go home to study for a few more years. Zhu Kan and the others were furious, but since Lin Jin didn't say a word, they could only swallow their anger. Soon, the gong for the second round of bidding was sounded. It's starting again? Mr. Zhu, let's go pick another pet beast. We won't disturb this young man's thoughts any longer. Having said that, Master Liao turned to leave with Zhu Tianli. After a while, Lin Jin opened his eyes. At this moment, his eyes were shining brightly. Just now, he had immersed his entire mind into the Museum of Deadly Beasts to learn the coiled wire needle. Although he had not mastered it to the point of perfection, at least he had no problem executing it. He looked up at the beast cage before him. Inside this cage was a rhinoceros beast. It had a strong physique, and the cage was huge. A simple evaluation report was written on the side. Besides, someone had already made a bid for this rhinoceros beast. The current bid price was 180 low-grade spirit stones. Lin Jin took out a silver needle he had condensed and placed it on his finger. With a light flick, a ray of silver light silently pierced through the beast. The originally dozing rhinoceros beast immediately howled. This roar gave the surrounding people a fright. It was normal for something like this to happen. Anyone would react the same way if they were suddenly stabbed by a needle. Just as Lin Jin expected, after being pricked by the coiled wire needle, he was connected to the needle through the coiled spirit energy. The needle was like an extension of his limbs, so naturally, it felt like he was touching it with his own hands. Chapter 94. The corresponding rhinoceros specimen and detailed evaluation results immediately appeared in the museum. Lin Jin nodded and turned to leave. The members of the Friar Association were baffled as they discussed with their companions. What's going on? Why did the rhinoceros suddenly go berserk? Didn't they say it was fed a sleeping pill? How would I know? Fortunately, this cage is sturdy, so it shouldn't have gone wrong. At the same time, Lin Jin walked up to a nearby cage. The next instant, a porcupine inside let out a blood-curdling screech. Following that, every cage Lin Jin passed by would be attacked. In an instant, the cries of various beasts could be heard. This naturally attracted the attention of the Friar Association. Several beast-type cultivators with 3 cloud blood patterns on their sleeves arrived to investigate. However, how could they possibly notice anything amiss? Forget them. Even the higher-ups of the Friar Association would be at a loss if they were here. Lin Jin's pulse-seeking technique was all about the element of surprise, making it hard to detect. The coiled wire needle was especially stealthy. No matter how strong one's senses were, Unless they were specifically watching Lin Jin, they wouldn't be able to detect it. Soon, more than half of the beasts in the hall had been ambushed by Lin Jin's coiled wire needle. Lin Jin was overjoyed that he had made the right decision to come here. In just a short while, he had collected quite a few rare beasts in the museum. He was very close to the next reward. In another 2 days, when a museum of deadly beast visitation hall reopened, he would obtain some more rare beasts from visitor number 7, and he would be able to obtain part 2 of the beast energy formation. Lin Jin had to wait 2 more days for the museum's visitation hall to open. Just the thought of it was thrilling. Xiaohua was already this powerful after cultivating part 1 of the beast energy formation. Once he finished cultivating part 2, he should be able to handle even rank 3 monsters. Lin Jin also planned to let Goldie cultivate part 1 of the beast energy formation. If there was a chance in the future, he could also let Zhao Ying and Lu Xiaoyan's pet beast cultivate it too. However, there was no rush. Lin Jin had to improve Xiaohua's strength first. After all, Xiaohua was his pet beast. Once Xiaohua was strong enough, it wouldn't be too late to consider other matters. And so, Lin Jin continued with his acupuncture. Everyone else was confused by the cries of the beasts in the hall, unable to figure out what was going on. But for those who had been following Lin Jin around, it was different, because whenever Lin Jin walked into a cage, the pet beast inside would definitely let out a cry of agony. Wherever Lin Jin went, his cries would follow. Was there such a coincidence? Definitely not. Then there was only one explanation. This was all Lin Jin's doing. Lu Xiaoyan was still fine, but Zhu Kan and Zhu Yingying had strange expressions on their faces. There was even a hint of fear on their faces. To them, Lin Jin was an enigma. Wherever he went, no matter how big or small the pet beasts were, they would let out a shriek. No matter how much they racked their brains, they couldn't figure out what it was. The more he couldn't figure it out, the more mysterious it seemed. "Brother, are those pet beast cries related to Appraiser Lin?" Zhu Yingying couldn't help but whisper to Zhu Kan out of curiosity. The latter stared at him as if to say, "Who am I supposed to ask?" But after some thought, he whispered, "Perhaps this is one of Appraiser Lin's supernatural powers. Don't ask, just watch." "Then is he really a rank 2 beast appraiser? I heard that it's very difficult to pass the rank 2 beast appraiser exam," Zhu Yingying added. Zhu Kan could attest to this because he was present this morning. "Don't worry about that. Appraiser Lin's capabilities are definitely at the level of a rank 2 beast appraiser. Also, the Beast Appraisal Association sent an invigilator to verify this." The cries continued. On the other end of the hall, Gao Jiang, who was picking out pet beasts for the Gao family, was surprised to hear the beast cries one after another. Then, he looked up and saw Lin Jin. Gao Jiang frowned. He was still indignant, but Lin Jin's meteoric rise in the association today had left him in awe. Wang Ji had fallen from grace because of Lin Jin. Forget being stripped of his position as chief, he might not even be able to keep his beast appraiser license. Or rather, he definitely wouldn't be able to keep it. Plagiarism and suppressing subordinates. Just these 2 charges were enough to ruin Wang Ji's future. Wang Ji was done for. Lin Jin's meteoric rise and even passed the rank 2 beast appraiser exam. Gao Jiang knew full well that Lin Jin's status in the Beast Appraisal Association would skyrocket from now on. Even Gao Jiang wouldn't be able to catch up to him. For now, it was best for him to avoid conflict. However, it was impossible for him to reconcile with Lin Jin. At most, they would just mind their own business. Lin Jin might be amazing, but I, Gao Jiang, am not bad either. We still have a long way to go. Just you wait and see. Lin Jin arrived at the last beast cage. Unlike the other cages, there weren't many buyers around this one. The reason was simple. The beast in this cage was deformed and flawed. Who would buy a deformed beast as a pet beast? Even if this beast looked ferocious, no matter how good a piece of jade was, its value would plummet if it had a crack. It was the same for pet beasts. Lin Jin glanced at the cage. Inside was a large python. The python was green in color with a few white and black scales. Although it was coiled up, it was probably more than 10 feet long. If it weren't for the tumor that grew about a foot below the python's head, this pet beast would definitely be the subject of intense bidding. That tumor was clearly the biggest flaw of this pet beast. So much so that no one was willing to bid for it. Lin Jin flicked his finger, and the coiled wire needle shot forward like a phantom. Just like before, Lin Jin thought it would easily pierce into the pet beast's body. But to his surprise, the coiled wire needle encountered an obstruction when it was 3 inches away from the python. Lin Jin was stunned. This was his first time encountering such a situation ever since he learned how to use the coiled wire needle. Taking a closer look, the python didn't seem to notice anything. In other words, it wasn't the python's defense. Wait a minute. Lin Jin suddenly noticed that the tumor on the python's neck seemed to be moving. An idea came to him, and he increased his strength. The coiled wire needle broke through the force field and pierced into the python's body. The python shuddered and began twisting. Lin Jin put the coiled wire needle away and went through the museum's information, deep in thought. Brother Zhu. After calling out, Zukin stepped forward. Buy it. Lin Jin pointed at the python in the cage, his tone implying that there was no room for doubt. Zukin didn't understand. This pet beast was obviously a defective product that no one cared about. Why did Lin Jin want him to buy it? However, there was one good thing about Zukin. He trusted someone. Even if he had doubts, he wouldn't ask too many questions during crucial moments. He immediately marked the price of this pet beast. It wasn't expensive because no one had marked it before. Zukin just raised the starting price a little higher. The starting price was only 80 low-grade spirit stones. Zukin raised it to 90. There was still some time before the second round of bidding ended. If no one made a bid, this python would belong to Zukin. Once a bid was made, there was no need to keep waiting. Lin Jin just had to come back later to see if anyone offered a higher price. Lin Jin brought Zukin and the others on a stroll. But when they returned, the price of this python was set at 100 low-grade spirit stones. Someone was bidding. Lin Jin frowned. Zukin was baffled. Why would someone bid on such a defective pet beast? Is there something wrong with them? If someone was bidding, why didn't anyone show up after such a long time? While Zukin was still thinking about this, Lin Jin said, bid again. 150 low-grade spirit stones. 50 more spirit stones in one go. Zhu Yingying had questions and wanted to ask, but Zukin stopped her. Without another word, he went up and increased the price. Let's just wait here. Don't leave. Lin Jin added. Zukin nodded. He didn't know much about beast appraising, but since Lin Jin valued this deformed python so much, Zukin would definitely bid for it. Very soon, an ordinary-looking old man walked over. Seeing the new price, he immediately increased the price to 200 low-grade spirit stones without a word. Chapter 95. Glancing at the man's tag, Lin Jin deduced that it was this old man who raised the bid earlier. Lin Jin could tell from the old man's plain appearance that he was probably an expert in beast observation. At the very least, he could tell that this deformed python was extraordinary. Otherwise, he wouldn't have raised the bid by so much. Moreover, as the second round of bidding was about to end, the old man didn't leave. Instead, he stayed by the cage. Zukin noticed this old man as well. Noticing that the man had raised the bid higher than his, Zukin couldn't resist asking Lin Jin softly, Brother Lin, do you want to raise the bid? Of course. Let me tell you, no matter how much I raise the bid today, you have to buy this pet beast, Lin Jin said straightforwardly. Zukin's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Not because of anything else, but because since Lin Jin said so, this python with a tumor on its body was definitely no ordinary pet beast. Zukin was excited. It wasn't easy for him to get the job of purchasing pet beasts for the family, so of course, he had to do his best. How could it be done so quickly? Spending money was secondary. The most important thing was to purchase a pet beast with potential. This was crucial to the family's future development. Back then, the Zhu family was able to rise to prominence and become one of Maple City's top 3 families because Zukin's great-grandfather managed to form a blood pact with a rare beast. Eventually, the beast evolved to rank 3, and with the strength of this pet beast, the Zhu family's foundation was established and passed down for 3 generations. But after his great-grandfather and that pet beast passed away one after another, the Zhu family reached its peak and began to decline. Over the years, they had been trying their best to maintain the family status, but without a high-level pet beast to watch over them, they weren't as intimidating as they used to be. Hence, while they appeared to be thriving on the surface, they were actually on the decline. And now, the Zhu family only had 2 rank 2 pet beasts. Other than them, there was no one else worthy of mention. From this, one could see how important it was to purchase pet beasts for the family. Because nurturing a pet beast required a lot of manpower, resources, and time. If they bought a pet beast with no potential, then all that time and money would be wasted. Due to the importance of this matter, Zukin dared not be careless. Zukin had absolute faith in Lin Jin. Through their interactions, Zukin had some understanding of Lin Jin's character. Appraiser Lin was usually a laid-back person, but when it came to something he was determined to do, he must have full confidence in it. Just like now, Lin Jin was telling him to buy this pet beast no matter how high the price was. This was a very obvious hint. In other words, this python was a rare beast with extraordinary potential. With a plan in mind, Zukin immediately stepped forward and raised the price to 300 low-grade spirit stones in front of the old man. Directly increasing the price by 100 was already very generous. When the old man saw this, he carefully looked at Zukin, probably wondering where he came from. After all, someone who added 100 spirit stones in one go gave off an aura of determination. At this time, the old man cupped his hands towards Zukin. Little friend, this old man is good at treating animals. Seeing that this big python has an incurable disease, I can't bear to see it. That's why I want to buy it and cut off its tumor. To be honest, this big python is good, but ordinary people can't cure that tumor. When the time comes, it's very likely that everything will be lost. Zukin smiled and didn't say anything. He was a descendant of a large family and had seen the world. Did this old man think he could be fooled with just a few words? What a joke. Seeing this, the old man immediately said, "I'm doing this for the sake of doing good deeds. My young friend, why must you compete with an old man like me? Can you let me have it? Just take it as giving me face." Having said that, he symbolically added another 20 spirit stones to the price, making it 320 low-grade spirit stones. Someone noticed the situation and came over to watch. Upon hearing the old man's words, someone said to Zukin, "This python isn't worth that much. Young friend, you mustn't be impulsive. The old man knows how to treat it, so please let him have it." Zukin chuckled, and without another word, he directly increased the price to 350 spirit stones. This time, the old man's expression darkened. He knew that the other party didn't listen to his words at all. Or rather, the other party didn't believe him at all. 350 spirit stones was not a small amount. Of course, if compared to the real value of this python, it was still a far cry. "My young friend, you're so stubborn. Are you determined to make life difficult for an old man like me?" Saying that, the old man increased the price to 400 low-grade spirit stones. If Zukin hadn't received Lin Jin's instructions, he definitely wouldn't have gone crazy at this time. But Lin Jin said that he had to get it no matter how much he increased the price. Hence, he didn't hesitate and directly increased the price to 500 low-grade spirit stones. The old man was obviously flustered. He wasn't stupid. He knew that the other party must have seen how extraordinary this python was. Otherwise, he wouldn't keep increasing the price to 500. If converted to silver, it would be more than 1,000 taels. Ordinary people couldn't afford it. This amount of money was enough for an ordinary family to live comfortably for 20 years. The old man knew that it was pointless to say anything else now. It was time to compete. This time, he stepped forward and made a bid. After the price appeared, the onlookers at the scene all let out a cry of surprise. Has this old man gone mad? Am I seeing things? He actually doubled the price. The old man's bid had doubled Zukin's price. 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. This time, not to mention the others, even Zukin was shocked. The old man was going all out. Doubled. This old man didn't look like he was that rich. Who knew he was the real deal? 1,000 low-grade spirit stones was almost half of what Zukin could use this time. Initially, he planned to buy a few more pet beasts, But if he spent too much on this python and something happened to it, he would be in big trouble. Even if his father didn't reprimand him when he got back, the opposing forces in the family would still gang up on him. He hesitated. He glanced at Lin Jin. Lin Jin didn't say a word because he had already made his stance clear. It was up to Zukin now. If he believed him, he would continue increasing the price. If he didn't, Lin Jin wouldn't say anything. He couldn't force the man to buy it. After all, Zukin was the one to make the decision. Since it was rare for someone to double the price during a bidding war, the situation here caught the attention of many, and the crowd grew. Gao Jiang also came over to observe from afar. He looked at the python in the cage. At first, he didn't think much of it, but after understanding the situation, he realized that Zukin was bidding against the old man. He knew that Zukin didn't know beast appraising, so he must have listened to Lin Jin. A pet beast that Lin Jin cared about must be extraordinary. Chapter 96. Despite his disdain, Gao Jiang had to admit that Lin Jin was capable. Otherwise, how could he have passed the rank 2 beast appraiser's exam? He activated his spiritual eye and used it to observe the python. Sure enough, he noticed something amiss. Could it be? Gao Jiang's eyes lit up as he thought of a possibility. After all, he was an official rank 1 beast appraiser. If he were to observe a pet beast closely, he would definitely be able to tell something. Gao Jiang was tempted by his speculation. He wanted to join the bidding as well. However, he was still hesitant. What if it wasn't? On the other side, Zhu Tianli and Master Liao rushed over after hearing the news. They had already gotten the bids for the 2 pet beasts, which were obviously appraised by Master Liao. Zhu Tianli was puzzled. Master Liao, didn't they say that this python is flawed, has a tumor, and doesn't have long to live? Why are they still bidding like this? 1,000 low-grade spirit stones? Are they insane? Master Liao was surprised as well. Although he was quite capable, he was probably no match for Gao Jiang. He had to rely on his mouth and acting skills. After taking a closer look at the python, he still couldn't tell what was so special about it. However, he couldn't bring himself to say that. After all, even if Lin Jin and Zhu Ken were crazy, the other bidder shouldn't be a lunatic, right? Sir Zhu, this great python is unordinary to begin with, and might very well be a rare beast. However, I will still say the same thing. It has a tumor on its body, just like a person with outstanding talent who is seriously ill and might even die at any time. What value is there in investing in someone with outstanding talent like this? Master Liao didn't continue talking about the python, but cleverly changed the topic to talk about the python's tumor. If that was the case, then he wouldn't be wrong. After some thought, he said, "This must be that Lin kid's doing." At first, the price probably wasn't that high. It's only because someone else was bidding that your nephew couldn't take it anymore. Look, it's someone else who's raising the price now. The other bidder is also holding back. They're no longer fighting for the python. They're fighting for their reputation. Honestly, I hope your nephew will continue bidding. That way, they'll sink deeper and deeper into this mess. Zhu Tianli nodded at this, musing that Master Liao was right. If that python was worth buying, why didn't anyone else bid for it when there were so many people here? Therefore, Master Liao was right. I also hope that my nephew will continue to raise the price, but I don't think he will. Even if he wants to, he won't dare. 1,000 low-grade spirit stones was already half of the spirit stones he could use this time. If he increased the price further, that old man would definitely not follow suit. If he were to spend so many spirit stones on a useless pet beast, he would have to bear the consequences when he returned. At the thought of this, Zhu Tianli really hoped that Zhu Ken would continue like this. Zhu Ken was indeed hesitant. Based on his personality, he would have called it a day. But when he recalled Lin Jin's words, he was stunned. "Brother Lin, I'll be relying on you this time." Zhu Ken made up his mind and stepped forward to raise the price to 1,500 low-grade spirit stones. The surrounding people exclaimed in shock when they saw this. Now it was no longer a small fight, but a real fight. The problem was that most people couldn't understand. Wasn't this a big python with a tumor? Was it really worth so much? According to the Friar Association's evaluation report, this python was only average. It wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't the best. It definitely wasn't worth so many spirit stones. If it weren't for the tumor, it would only be worth 3 to 500 spirit stones at most. Hence, no one could make sense of the situation. But there was nothing wrong with watching the show. Seeing Zhu can raise the price again, Zhu Tianli was ecstatic. This kid is crazy. Is he really going to raise the price? Great, great. Zhu Tianhong has a good son. Let's see how they're going to clean up this mess. Zhu Tianli was already imagining how he could use this incident to tarnish Zhu Can's reputation and damage Zhu Tianhong's reputation in the Zhu family. Only then would he stand a chance. Zhu can raise the price to 1,500, thinking that the old man would give up. To his surprise, a hint of hesitation flashed across the old man's eyes, but he still gritted his teeth and stepped forward, raising the price by another notch. 2,000 low-grade spirit stones. This was definitely a high price. The old man loosened his sleeves and glared at Lin Jin, ready to fight to the end. Kid, keep it up. I refuse to believe that I can't win against a junior like you. Clearly, this price was too much for the old man. Zhu Qin's expression darkened. It wasn't because of anything else, but because this was all the spirit stones he could use. Now that the price had exceeded 2,000 low-grade spirit stones, he didn't dare to make any more decisions. He sighed. Although he believed in Lin Jin's judgment, the current situation was beyond his capabilities. Lin Jin was aware of this as well. He walked over to Zhu Can and said, "Raise it to 3,000. If he raises it any further, let him go. I'll go back with you later." Having said that, he patted Zhu Can on the shoulder. This time, Zhu Can was truly shocked. Lin Jin meant for him to continue raising the price. If anything happened, Lin Jin would explain it to his father. But this was 3,000 low-grade spirit stones. If he made a mistake, things would get out of hand. This was too thrilling. Increase. Zhu Can decided to go all the way. Not to mention Zhu Can, even the surrounding people who were watching the show gasped in excitement. This was only the second round of the auction, and there was already a bidding war. Moreover, the price was raised to 3,000 low-grade spirit stones. Now, it was up to the old man to decide if he wanted to keep up. The crowd turned to the old man, who was rolling up his sleeves. The latter was dumbfounded. He didn't expect Zhu Can to raise the price again. And this time, it wasn't 500 but 1,000, raising the price to 3,000. He was panicking, because he didn't have that many spirit stones left. The spirit stones he could use were less than 3,000. If he had more, he would definitely raise the price. The old man's expression darkened. He glanced at Zhu Can, then at Lin Jin. He could now tell that Zhu Can's increase in price was all thanks to this man. Taking a deep breath, the old man didn't look at Zhu Can. Instead, he said to Lin Jin, "Young man, you have a keen eye? I'm impressed. May I know how I should dress you?" Lin Jin knew this old man wasn't as simple as he seemed. Since he dared to offer 2,000 blood energy stones, he must have noticed the uniqueness of this constrictor. Hence, Lin Jin didn't act arrogantly. Instead, he politely replied, "I'm Lin Jin of the Beast Appraisal Association." The old man frowned. Wang Ji isn't a capable man. I didn't expect him to have someone like you among his subordinates. It was obvious that this old man had a fiery temper. Lin Jin, I'll remember you. If there's a chance in the future, I'll pay you a visit. Having said that, the old man cast a reluctant glance at the constrictor in the cage before turning to leave. An old man with a strong personality. These were Lin Jin's thoughts. The old man clearly bore a grudge against him. By asking for a visit, he was probably going to challenge his association. But why would Lin Jin be afraid of him? Outside the crowd, Gao Jiang watched the old man's departing figure and mumbled to himself, "Ji, I heard that there's an expert beast appraiser in Linchuan County. He's skilled, but has an eccentric temper. His surname is Ji. Could it be this person?" Chapter 97. The second round of the pet beast auction came to an end. After the first and second round, 2/3 of the pet beasts had been sold. As usual, the remaining rare pet beasts would be sent over in the last round. Usually, the real good stuff would be in the third round. Hence, many buyers were waiting excitedly. Zhu Tianli and Master Liao came over on purpose. Zukin had listened to Lin Jin's advice and spent 3,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy a dying snake. Of course, they were here to belittle him. Young man, how generous of you to spend so much money in one go. It's just that I'm ignorant and have no idea what kind of rare species that snake is for it to be worth 3,000 low-grade spirit stones. Master Liao was the first to mock Lin Jin. Lin Jin smiled, knowing that the other party was up to no good. 1, he was mocking him, and 2, he was trying to find out the truth. However, Lin Jin was able to keep his composure. He smiled and said, "You'll know when we compare." Master Liao sneered and said nothing else. He had chosen 2 pet beasts for Zhu Tianli. Altogether, they were only worth 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. He was confident that these 2 pet beasts could win against that deformed snake. However, there was still the third round. The pet beasts in the third round were all of superior quality. As long as he chose one in this round, he would win for sure, because the other party had run out of spirit stones. Zhu Tianli knew better than anyone else that Zukin didn't have any spirit stones. Zukin, how could you fool around like this? Zhu Tianli suddenly reprimanded. Zukin was anxious, but out of his trust in Lin Jin, he didn't question him. Upon hearing Zhu Tianli's words, he replied, "Second uncle, I know what to do. You don't have to worry about me." Zhu Tianli wouldn't let it go. Zukin, you have no respect for your elders. Is this how you talk to your elders? As your second uncle and a member of the Zhu family, how can I watch an insensible junior like you throw a tantrum and ruin the family's hard-earned fortune? 3,000 low-grade spirit stones. Do you know how much money you have to spend based on the current market price? Let me tell you, it's at least 7,000. No matter how big the family's fortune is, it can't afford to squander it like this. Is this what your father taught you? Zhu Tianli said what he wanted to say the most. That was to push the blame onto Zhu Tianhong. This was his true goal. His plan was simple. He would pressure Zukin here. Zukin was young and hot-blooded, so he would definitely be unconvinced. As long as he dared to challenge him, he would immediately report this matter to the clan and make a big deal out of it. Then, he would use this to shake Zhu Tianhong's position as clan leader. Over the years, his forces had been growing by the day. In terms of influence, he was now strong enough to rival his eldest brother, Zhu Tianhong. Zhu Tianli's pet beast had evolved into rank 2 and became the family's pillar of support. That was why he could act so brazenly. Zukin was furious, but he was clearly more composed than Zhu Tianli had expected. Faced with the provocation, Zukin took a deep breath and said, "Second uncle, Zhu Su has been going in and out of the East Courtyard's beast pen for some time now. Are you aware of this?" Zhu Su was Zhu Tianli's son. The Zhu family was now divided into 3 courtyards. The East Courtyard was where Zhu Tianhong's faction was located. Zhu Can's sapphire turtle had always been kept in the East Courtyard's beast pen. Hearing this, Zhu Tianli's expression immediately changed. After all, Zhu Can's words were too targeted. Although he didn't say it out loud, the meaning was clear. Zukin was referring to the poisoning of his sapphire turtle. Zukin, what do you mean by that? Zhu Tianli narrowed his eyes, feeling slightly guilty. Zukin looked at the other man's expression and actually had the urge to expose their dirty deeds. However, Zhu Tianhong had told him to let it go for now. After all, they were family and shared the Zhu surname. As the saying went, don't wash your dirty linen in public. This was considered giving the other man a chance. But now that Zhu Tianli was using his status to bully him, Zukin couldn't tolerate it. Second uncle, you know what I mean. There are some things that my father doesn't talk about, but that doesn't mean he doesn't know. Also, grandfather once said that although the Zhu family is divided into 3 courtyards, we're still one family. As a family, we mustn't go overboard. Insolence. Zhu Tianli was enraged. If Zhu Tianhong had said this, he could still tolerate it. After all, Zhu Tianhong was his eldest brother. But Zukin was his nephew, a junior who dared to talk back to him and even threaten him. This immediately ignited Zhu Tianli's anger. He sneered, "Zukin, who do you think you are? How dare you lecture me? Didn't you just want to talk about how your pet beast mysteriously contracted an illness recently? I know that you and your father are suspecting West Yard, me and my son, Zhu Su, Fine. Since you're suspecting us, show us evidence if you can. If you can't, then stop putting on an act here. Zhu Su, and Zhu Su were the two of them. But you, on the other hand, acting so willfully today, using 3,000 low-grade spirit stones from your family to spite others. I'm telling you, I'm going to talk to your father about this and see if he was the one who asked you to do this. How dare he let a young brat mess around? I think he's muddled. Sooner or later, the Zhu family will fall in the hands of you father and son. Zhu Qian's eyes reddened. He was about to attack when someone shouted, "Qian, don't be rude." He turned around and saw that it was Zhu Tianhong. At the sight of his father, Zhu Qian immediately behaved himself. Zhu Tianli's eyelids twitched as he thought of a plan. As the patriarch of the Zhu family, Zhu Tianhong had arranged for Zhu Qian to be the family shopkeeper. Of course, he would secretly have someone follow Zhu Qian. In fact, when he ran into Zhu Tianli, news had already been sent back. Zhu Tianhong guessed that something bad was about to happen, so he rushed over and happened to witness this scene. If he had arrived a moment later, Zhu Qian and Zhu Tianli would have already started fighting. "Father!" Zhu Qian and Zhu Yingying went up to greet him. Zhu Tianli's eyes darted around, and he immediately said, "Brother, you're here, just in time. You saw how disrespectful your precious son is. Not only did he speak disrespectfully, he even tried to use violence. Is this how you've taught your son?" He and Zhu Tianhong had been fighting openly and covertly for a long time, so this was the perfect opportunity to make things difficult for him. After all, the fact that his son spent the family's money to spite others was his biggest weakness. Either Zhu Tianhong punished Zhu Qian according to the ancestral rules, or he would have to take responsibility and give up his position as patriarch. Zhu Qian calmed down. He couldn't hold back his anger earlier. Now that he thought about it, Zhu Tianli was just provoking him on purpose. He was filled with regret. Zhu Tianhong patted Zhu Qian's shoulder and said, "Qian, no matter what, he's still your second uncle. You can't be rude and disrespectful." Chapter 98. Although Zhu Tianhong sounded like he was reprimanding Lin Jin, he was obviously trying to minimize the problem. Zhu Tianli was enraged. Today, he finally got a hold of Lin Jin's weakness, so how could he let it go so easily? With a menacing grin, he said, "Big brother, Zhu Qian is your son. It's understandable that you're protecting him, and I understand that. But as the current patriarch of the Zhu family, you can't just consider yourself in every decision you make. You can't be too selfish. Just like how you entrusted the family's pet beast procurement to Zhu Qian just to earn some reputation for your son. Aren't you just messing around? He's just a young brat. If he messes up, the entire Zhu family's interests will be at stake." The attack had begun. The fact that Zhu Qian had bid in a fit of pique was his greatest weakness. Zhu Tianli had made up his mind to deal a blow to Zhu Tianhong's standing today. Zhu Tianhong remained calm. After listening, he turned to Zhu Qian. "Qian, what do you say?" With a serious expression, Zhu Qian said, "Although I'm young, I know the gravity of the situation. The purchase of pet beasts concerns the family's future. How could I, Zhu Qian, treat it like child's play?" Zhu Tianli immediately said, "So you know this concerns the family's future as well. Let me ask you, who was the one who bid in a fit of pique and spent 3,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy a dying snake? If that's not child's play, then what is?" Zhu Tianhong had heard about the situation from his subordinates. Of course, it was only the gist of it. Now that he learned that his son had spent 3,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy a pet beast, Zhu Tianhong's heart skipped a beat. He remembered that the budget he gave Zhu Qian was only 2,000 low-grade spirit stones. Did this kid really dare to act recklessly? Truth be told, Zhu Qian couldn't explain himself. It was true that he bid in a bid, and it was also true that he spent 3,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy a problematic pet beast. But Lin Jin was the one who asked him to do it. He turned to look at Lin Jin and winked at him, implying, "Big brother, hurry up and say something." Lin Jin smiled. Knowing it was his turn, he stepped forward. At the sight of Lin Jin, Zhu Tianhong broke into a smile. Before Lin Jin could speak, he stepped forward and saluted him. "Appraiser Lin." "Lord Zhu." Lin Jin returned the greeting. The surrounding people were stunned and surprised. Although it was just a matter of who spoke first and who spoke later, there was a lot of knowledge in it. Zhu Tianhong was clearly showing great respect for Lin Jin, which was why he greeted him first. However, the problem was that Zhu Tianhong was the patriarch of the Zhu family, and his status was extraordinary. Anyone who could command such respect from him was definitely no ordinary person. Zhu Tianli and the others were flabbergasted and confused. Little did they know that Zhu Tianhong had witnessed Lin Jin's capabilities today. Others might not be able to tell, but Zhu Tianhong had a hunch that Wang Ji's downfall was due to Lin Jin's counterattack. Moreover, Lin Jin managed to pass the Rank 1 Beast Appraiser exam in just one day and advance to Rank 2. Considering Lin Jin's age, his future achievements were limitless. The Zhu family might have to rely on Lin Jin's care in the future, so of course, they had to be polite to him. Zhu Tianhong was a man of great foresight. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become the current head of the Zhu family. Lord Zhu, I was the one who asked Zhu Can to bid for the pet beast. Lin Jin took responsibility for the matter. This was his idea anyway, so there was no need to hide it. Just when everyone thought that Zhu Tianhong would at least reveal an unhappy expression and a hint of suspicion, Zhu Tianhong's subsequent reaction left them all dumbfounded. Zhu Tianhong laughed heartily and turned to the butler he brought with him. Withdraw some silvers from the family's account and exchange them for spirit stones as soon as possible. Having said that, he turned to Lin Jin and said, Appraiser Lin, you can decide how you want to buy the pet beast. If you don't have enough spirit stones, I'll try to gather more. Those who were familiar with Zhu Tianhong gasped. Had Zhu Tianhong lost his mind? Upon hearing that the other party had instructed Zhu Can to spend 3,000 low-tier spirit stones to buy a problematic serpent beast, not only did the other party not blame the other party, he didn't even show the slightest hint of doubt. Instead, he even gifted the other party the spirit stones and allowed the other party to make the decision. Was this still the Zhu Tianhong who was known for his prudence and steadiness? Zhu Tianli was the first to lose his temper. Brother, why are you messing around like Canner? This Lin kid is so young. What does he know about beast appraising? All right, I haven't introduced him to you yet. This time, I spent a lot of money to invite Master Liao. With Master Liao around, there's no need for anyone else to interfere with our Zhu family's purchases, said Zhu Tianli. When Zhu Tianhong saw the arrogant Master Liao, he merely saluted him as a show of respect. That was all. Master Liao, who had always been proud and arrogant, couldn't tolerate this. Zhu Tianhong clearly thought that the Lin kid was more capable than him. If word got out, he would be in deep trouble. He snorted coldly. Looks like Patriarch Zhu doesn't trust me. I didn't plan on coming out this time. But if it wasn't for Zhu Tian's sincere invitation, I wouldn't have come even if I was given a mountain of gold and silver. Having said that, he turned to Zhu Tianli and said, Mr. Zhu, please speak. If you don't need me, I'll leave right away. Zhu Tianli quickly stopped him. Brother, Master Liao is an expert. As the lord of the family, how can you be so rude? I'll definitely report this to the elders and uncles in the family when I get back. Let's see how you explain this to them. Having said that, Zhu Tianli suddenly recalled the bet they made earlier. An idea popped into his head, and he blurted out, Whoever has the ability to do so will have showdown. Let's see the pet beasts we've bought later. Then, it'll be clear who's the expert and who's the swindler. Just then, the third round of pet beast auctions began. Many new beast cages were brought up to the stage. Zhu Tianli scoffed and went off to pick another pet beast with Master Liao. They had made up their minds to take Zhu Tianhong down a notch today and make him suffer a huge setback. Speaking of which, Zhu Tianli was overjoyed. Zhu Tianhong's visit today was equivalent to him personally taking part in the battle. As long as Master Liao could defeat that Lin kid, Zhu Tianhong would have to face the consequences of trusting someone else and causing the family to suffer huge losses. When that happened, Zhu Tianli just had to pull some strings, and he could definitely make Zhu Tianhong suffer. Master Liao, I'm counting on you for this, Zhu Tianli suddenly said. Master Liao was brimming with confidence. Don't worry about this, Zhu Tiansheng. That snake beast they bought is already destined to fail. On the other hand, Zhu Tianhong displayed his absolute trust in Lin Jin. Although this was his first time meeting Lin Jin, Zhu Tianhong was a charismatic man, and he believed in his own judgment. During the third round of the auction, Lin Jin circled around but didn't bid again. The reason was simple. If he were to bid again, the pet beasts in the third round would all be expensive. Some of them had a starting price of 1,000 low-grade spirit stones, while others could only be settled with intermediate-grade spirit stones. By then, there would definitely be more bidders. Even if he bought the pet beast, it wouldn't be worth it. Most importantly, in Lin Jin's opinion, none of the subsequent pet beasts could compare to the snake he had Zhu can buy. Hence, there was no point in buying anything in the third round. On the other side, Zhu Tianli spent 5,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy a horned lion. The competition for this pet beast was fierce because it was obviously a rare beast with a hidden bloodline and extraordinary potential. Finally, Zhu Tianli and Master Liao bought 3 pet beasts, while Zhu Can and Lin Jin only bought 1. Chapter 99. With 3 pet beasts against 1. Anyone with a discerning eye would know that the former would definitely have the upper hand. Of course, the deciding factor wasn't the quantity, but the quality of the pet beasts. After the third round of auction ended, Zhu Tianli couldn't wait any longer, so he brought the 3 pet beasts he bought to Lin Jin and the others for a competition. Big brother, I'll cut to the chase. Master Liao has appraised these 3 pet beasts in detail. Here are the evaluation reports. Take a look. Zhu Tianli was gleeful, thinking that victory was within his grasp. Suddenly, Lin Jin took a step forward and said, "Lord Zhu, there's no need to read them." Zhu Tianhong was stunned, confused. Master Liao scoffed. "How would you know the quality of a pet beast if you don't read the evaluation reports? Young man, at this point, don't tell me you still think that the pet beast you picked is superior?" Lin Jin smiled and nodded in acknowledgement. "That's right. What a joke. Preposterous." Master Liao and Zhu Tianli exclaimed in unison. Master Liao, in particular, was thoroughly enraged as he said, "You ignorant brat, I've tolerated you for far too long. You don't even know what the 3 pet beasts I've chosen are like, yet you dare to spout nonsense and claim that you've won? Do you take everyone here for fools?" Master Liao was enraged by Lin Fan's words. Even if Zhu Tianhong and Zhu Can had absolute trust in Lin Jin, if they didn't compete, how could they prove who picked the better pet beast? Hence, both of them turned to Lin Jin in astonishment. Lin Jin suddenly said, "Rank 1 horned lion, rare beast, fire a tribute." The crowd was stunned. What was he talking about? After listening carefully, they realized that Lin Jin was referring to the horned lion that Zhu Tianli and Master Liao had just spent 5,000 low-grade spirit stones to purchase. Moreover, Lin Jin's description was extremely detailed. Many experts here were dumbfounded by Lin Jin's evaluation results and nodded profusely. Master Liao, in particular, looked disdainful at first, but as he listened on, his expression began to stiffen. In the end, his face paled and his mind was in turmoil, because Lin Jin's results were much more detailed than what he could appraise on his own. He subconsciously retracted his hand that was holding the evaluation report. He now knew why Lin Jin didn't allow Zhu Tianhong to read his evaluation report. Truth be told, Lin Jin was giving him face. If Zhu Tianhong were to read his evaluation report first, and then listen to Lin Jin's evaluation, even a fool would be able to tell that Zhu Tianhong's standards paled in comparison. He did not dare to take out the evaluation report now. Meanwhile, Lin Jin was still talking. It could be said that this pet beast had been thoroughly dissected, including various details, flaws, and of course, the horned lion's merits. His evaluation was fair and just. Even if Master Liao wanted to find fault with him, he wouldn't be able to, because the other party's level was too high. It would have been better if he hadn't opened his mouth. The moment he opened his mouth, not only did he fail to nitpick, but he also exposed himself. Therefore, Master Liao's mouth was wide open. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't, because he did not dare to say it. It was like a student trying to find fault with an old teacher's teachings. After Lin Jin was done talking about the first pet beast, he didn't stop there. Instead, he went on to talk about the second. The other pet beast, the bloodthirsty wolf, is slightly inferior to the horned lion. Speaking of which, while the horned lion is decent, 5,000 low-grade spirit stones is still a little too expensive. Lin Jin had thoroughly analyzed the second pet beast. By then, Master Liao had already hidden the evaluation report in his hand behind his back. Upon closer inspection, Master Liao's fingers were trembling violently. After talking about the second pet beast, Lin Jin went on to the third without pausing. By now, even Zhu Tianli could sense that something was amiss. Why did it feel like Lin Jin had figured out all three of the pet beasts he had bought? The frustrated Zhu Tianli interrupted Lin Jin and said, "Lin, why are you saying all this? We're competing to see who has a higher quality pet beast, not for you to spout nonsense." Zhu Tianli was clearly a layman, especially when it came to beast appraising. His ignorance was adorable. Lin Jin stared at him and smiled. Although the competition between me and old Mr. Liao is to see who has a better pet beast, in essence, it's still a competition of discernment and beast appraising skills. Zhu Tianli still hadn't figured out the situation. He waved his hand impatiently. "I don't understand what you're saying. All I know is that the snake you picked has a tumor on its body. It can't compare to Master Liao's 3 pet beasts." Lin Jin shook his head. "Who said it's a tumor?" Zhu Tianli was stunned. "Isn't that written in the evaluation report the Friar Association produced?" This time, Lin Jin didn't say anything. Instead, a buyer who couldn't bear to watch any longer spoke up. "Mr. Zhu, that evaluation report is only a reference. The person who wrote it might not even know how to appraise beasts. Otherwise, why would so many buyers bring their own beast appraisers here? Let's just do as you said and buy it according to the evaluation report." The crowd burst into laughter. Zhu Tianli was infuriated. Anyone would be enraged after being mocked in public. Indeed, he didn't know how to appraise beasts, and he had been a little anxious earlier. Taking a deep breath, Zhu Tianli calmed down and went straight to the point. "Then tell me, if it's not a tumor, what is it?" Lin Jin didn't continue mocking him. Instead, he walked over to the snake's cage and reached out to open it. "Watch out." The people from the Friar Association jumped in fright at this sight. They immediately rushed over, but it was too late. The moment the cage was opened, the anaconda inside immediately opened its eyes and began to stir. The Friar Association members were on high alert. Although this anaconda had a tumor on its body, it was extremely ferocious. Previously, it took them a lot of effort to capture it. They even had to rely on traps and knockout agents before they managed to capture it. However, even though they managed to capture it, the anaconda was difficult to tame. Some of them were even injured by it due to carelessness. When Lin Jin recklessly opened the cage, some of them shut their eyes, certain that Lin Jin would be devoured by the anaconda. Given the anaconda's size, it wouldn't be difficult for it to swallow a human whole. However, that bloody scene didn't happen. The anaconda did move, but it moved closer to Lin Jin and placed its large head on Lin Jin's palm. This was the pet beast submission. Everyone present was astonished. Several members of the Friar Association were even more dumbfounded and speechless. "What the hell?" Lin Jin looked at the anaconda with admiration, as if he was looking at an exquisite piece of art or a priceless treasure. "It's a pity that I'm here to help the Zhu family choose a pet beast. Otherwise, I would have bought you," Lin Jin said in a low voice. Lin Jin suddenly whispered. However, he soon realized that it was impossible because he couldn't afford 3,000 low-grade spirit stones right now. With a flick of a needle in his hand, the coiled wire needle pierced several acupoints on the anaconda's body. Then, Lin Jin condensed his spirit energy into a finger and sliced open the anaconda's tumor. In an instant, a foul stench flowed out. What happened next left everyone dumbfounded. From the tumor, a snake's head popped out. Chapter 100. Another snake's head stretched out from the slit. This scene caused everyone's scalp to go numb and their hearts to palpitate. Many of them had lived for decades, but this was the first time they had seen such a strange thing. What was even more bizarre was that the snake head that grew out of the slit opened its mouth and let out a strange cry. It sounded like a baby crying, and it was extremely horrifying to the ears. "Oh my God, what is that?" "I don't know. At first, I thought it was just a tumor. Who knew there was a snake head inside? That sound is so scary. Isn't that a two-headed snake?" The crowd began discussing. Zhu Tianli was dumbfounded. He turned to Master Liao and asked softly, "Master W, what is that thing?" Master Liao mused. "Who should I ask if you're asking me?" However, Zhu Tianli was a sugar daddy, so he couldn't say that. Still, he couldn't say he didn't know either. If he spouted nonsense, Lin Jin might just expose him. Hence, Zhu Tianli was at a loss for words. He stammered, unable to give a general idea. Zhu Tianli was no fool. From how easily Lin Jin saw through the 3 pet beasts they bought, to how dumbfounded Master Liao was now, Zhu Tianli knew who was stronger and who was weaker. It was over. He had thought that the Master Liao he had invited would be able to suppress Zhu Tianhong, but he hadn't expected things to turn out like this. This Master Liao didn't have that much ability. If he wasn't capable, why would he want so much money? If he wasn't a scammer, what was he? Zhu Tianli immediately came to a realization. He glared at Master Liao with an unfriendly gaze. Master Liao was a shrewd man. When he was in this line of work, he would occasionally come across accidents which he could usually resolve. That appraiser Lin's skills aren't bad, but he used a trick. He must have known about that two-headed snake from the start, so there's no way he could be so certain. "Forget it. I admit defeat. I'll pay for the pet beast purchase this time. I won't let my ancestors suffer any losses." Liao Ying's expression turned serious as he said, "Appraiser Lin's skills aren't bad, but he used a trick. This was called retreating in order to advance." Zhu Tianli immediately felt that Master Liao's words made sense. After all, the 3 pet beasts Master Liao had chosen for him weren't too shabby either. It was just that the two-headed snake was more insane. But just as Master Liao said, Lin Jin must have some insider information. Otherwise, why would he be so determined to buy this constrictor? Thinking of this, his anger dissipated a lot. Master Liao was good at reading people's expressions. One look at Zhu Tianli's expression, and he knew it wasn't a big problem, so he added, "Moreover, that two-headed snake only looks special. Its quality might not be better than the pet beast I've chosen. It's still too early to tell who will win." These words were a complete scam, because Master Liao knew very well that he had lost. Just as Lin Jin had said, this competition wasn't about pet beasts but beast appraising skills. In this aspect, the other party was much better than him, so how could the two-headed snake lose out? However, it would be easier to explain to Zhu Tianli this way, and he could also explain his failure more logically, especially to convince Zhu Tianli of something. That Lin Jin won not because he was inferior, but because the other party already knew about the two-headed snake. In this case, Lin Jin's loss was because the other party had cheated. Also, based on his understanding of Zhu Tianli, he didn't really have to pay for the spirit stones. Someone like Zhu Tianli cared a lot about his reputation. Lin Jin suddenly said, "A rank 2 snake beast, a rare species with dual attributes of wood and water. It possesses a trace of the bloodline of the ancient beast, the 9-headed snake-like beast. It has limitless potential. With the right blood pact and proper nourishment, it could evolve into rank 3 within a year." Lin Jin began to recite the snake's appraisal results. At the mention of a rank 2 snake beast, the outcome of this battle was already decided. No matter how powerful Zhu Tianli's 3 pet beasts were, they were only rank 1 pet beasts. A rank 2 snake beast was enough to crush them. However, with Master Liao laying the groundwork, Zhu Tianli wasn't too angry. He merely looked at the snake enviously before flicking his sleeves and leaving. Master Liao left with his tail between his legs. He would only embarrass himself if he stayed. Zhu Tianhong and Zhu Qin couldn't care less about anything else. Upon hearing that this was a rank 2 pet beast, they became excited. Their eyes burned as they stared at the two-headed snake, as if it was a peerless beauty. The Zhu family had rank 2 pet beasts too. and there was more than one. But the problem was, this pet beast was rank 2 to begin with. According to Lin Jean, it would definitely evolve into a rank 3 within a year. A rank 3 pet beast. Back then, Zhu Can's great-grandfather relied on this rank 3 pet beast to establish his family business. Didn't this mean that after buying this snake beast, the Zhu family could return to its former glory? As such, how could Zhu Tianhong and Zhu cannot be excited? When they thought about the price they paid, it was only 3,000 low-grade spirit stones. This was a huge profit. Under normal circumstances, a rank 2 pet beast would cost more than this. And it even had a hidden bloodline. As for what kind of bloodline the 9-headed snake-like beast was, they had no idea. But it must be something amazing. The Zhu family was elated while the crowd was envious. Some of them felt it was a pity. Had they known earlier, forget 3,000, they would even be willing to fork out 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. Unfortunately, there was no cure for regret in this world. Zukan finally noticed that Zhu Tianli and the others had sneaked away. He whispered to Zhu Tianhong, "Father, second uncle, and the others have left." Zhu Tianhong's expression darkened. So what if they're gone? He's getting more and more out of hand. In the past, I tolerated him on account of him being my brother, but who knew they would go too far? Fortunately, Appraiser Lin was here today, and they didn't get what they wanted. Canner, remember to be respectful to Appraiser Lin from now on. Zukan quickly nodded. Even if Zhu Tianhong didn't say anything, he would have done so anyway. The father and son went over to thank Lin Jean together. The crowd looked at Lin Jean with admiration and respect. Those who knew Lin Jean tried their best to congratulate him and befriend him, while those who didn't know him quickly asked about his background. In an instant, Lin Jean was surrounded by local dignitaries who wanted to befriend him. At this moment, someone shouted, "Yang Jie is here." In an instant, the crowd surrounding Lin Jean was reduced by more than half. Among them was Zhu Yingying. Her eyes were glowing as if she was a fangirl. "Yang Jie is here. He's so cool." It wasn't just Zhu Yingying. All the women present were eagerly anticipating his arrival. Lin Jean was dumbfounded by this scene. Just then, someone walked in through the door. Lin Jean couldn't help but gasp, musing about how handsome he was. The man's complexion was as clear as jade. His brows were straight like swords, and his eyes were bright like stars. He was dressed in white and green, exuding an otherworldly elegance. It was no wonder a young lady like Zhu Yingying would fall in love with him. Chapter 101. The moment Yang Jie arrived, he immediately became the center of attention. Zhu Can leaned over and whispered, "What's so good about him? He's just born with good looks." Lin Jean agreed with this, so he nodded profusely. This was clearly a man's envy and jealousy. "Appraiser Lin, you've done our Zhu family a great favor today, so you must come over as a guest. Everyone in the Zhu family will welcome you with open arms," Zhu Tianhong said sincerely. As the patriarch of the Zhu family, he was considered Lin Jin's father in terms of age. But now, he had to humble himself, because Lin Jin was truly capable. Not only was he capable, but Zhu Tianhong could also see Lin Jin's limitless future. As the head of a large family, how could he not see this? As long as they could maintain a good relationship with Lin Jin, the Zhu family would only benefit in the future. Lin Jin couldn't refuse this time. Moreover, it was Zhu Tianhong who personally invited him, so he nodded in agreement. Although he had only chosen one pet beast for the Zhu family in this auction, this one pet beast alone was comparable to all of the Zhu family's current pet beasts. Just the thought of this pet beast starting at rank 2 and being able to evolve into rank 3 within a year made Zhu Tianhong feel 10 years younger. After leaving the auction, Zhu Can seem to have remembered something. He approached Zhu Tianhong and asked, "Father, should we call Yingying back? That Yang Jie is already fully fledged, and I heard that he's already engaged. Even if he wasn't, with Yang Jie's arrogance, I'm afraid he wouldn't even be interested in our Zhu family. Yingying is just fooling around." Appraiser Lin, on the other hand, is only at the beginning of his flight. His future is limitless. Zhu Tianhong was stunned at first before nodding. "Father, that's what I thought too." Zukin chuckled, but when he saw Lin Jin, he quickly shut up. Lin Jin wanted Lu Xiaoyun to tag along, but despite her straightforward personality, Lu Xiaoyun was a smart girl. The Zhu family was here to thank Lin Jin, so it wouldn't be appropriate for her to tag along. Master Lin, I still have to wait for my brother to come out. Lu Xiaoyun declined. Lin Jin gave it some thought and agreed, so he didn't insist. After bidding farewell, he left with Zhu Kan and his son. The Zhu family was very attentive to their hospitality. Before they left, they even had their servants deliver many gifts so Lin Jin couldn't refuse. When Lin Jin got home, he noticed a stack of banknotes among the pile of gifts. After counting, there were actually 1,000 taels of silver. Since Lin Jin had helped the Zhu family pick out a pet beast with great potential, the Zhu family obviously wouldn't let him do it for free. But since they were afraid that Lin Jin wouldn't accept it if they gave it to him directly, they thought of hiding the banknotes in the gift. Lin Jin smiled. Since the man had gone this far, it would be hypocritical of him to turn back now. What's more, he really needed money now. Even if he accepted it, he would feel at ease. It was late at night. Since Lin Jin had taken a nap in the afternoon, he couldn't fall asleep despite feeling tipsy. In the small courtyard, Xiaohua lay down and basked in the moonlight. Big Yellow stood on the roof and raised its chicken head arrogantly. No one knew what it was looking at. The shadow wolf was still sleeping in the beast pen. After giving it some thought, Lin Jin took out his needles and used the pulse-seeking technique to prick his own acupoints to force the alcohol out of his body. The more he studied it, the more he realized how powerful the pulse-seeking needle technique was. For example, the coiled wire needle that he comprehended today was a technique that could both attack and defend. It could even kill without leaving a trace. To put it simply, Lin Jin didn't even need to use Xiaohua now. With his acupuncture technique alone, he could take on some strong warriors and pet beasts. After using the needles to prick his blood and mobilizing his spirit energy, Lin Jin opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of alcohol, which turned into a huge cloud of alcohol mist. Lin Jin felt much better now. After all, alcohol still lingered in his body, so he would more or less feel uncomfortable. Turning to look at Xiaohua, Lin Jin decided to use the coiled wire needle to prick Xiaohua's blood and unblock his veins since he had nothing better to do. Xiaohua was an average creature with no hidden bloodline, nor was he a rare beast. But now, he had progressed much further than most pet beasts. He had reached rank 3. Generally speaking, for a firewolf of Xiaohua's species, reaching rank 2 was already difficult. Rank 3 was the limit. There was almost no other way for him to advance further. However, Lin Jin had the Museum of Deadly Beasts, which showed that Xiaohua still had the potential to evolve. Even if he didn't have the potential, Lin Jin would find a way to create more potential for him so that he could evolve. Using acupuncture to expand Xiaohua's spirit veins every day was one of the ways to improve. However, after performing acupuncture on Xiaohua this time, Xiaohua seemed to have undergone some changes. Not only did his aura improve, but there was also an additional evolution method in the Museum of Deadly Beasts. Lin Jin's eyes lit up when he saw it. It was yet another perfect way to advance. Lin Jin knew better than anyone else how great a perfect evolution was. It was thanks to the perfect evolution that Xiaohua was able to leap from rank 1 to rank 3 in one go, completing his evolution. Of course, a perfect evolution wasn't easy either. The Fire Spirit Crystal and 6 Suns Beast Soul Pill were extremely difficult to obtain. Lin Jin managed to obtain them not only because of the museum, but also because of luck. It was also because the previous perfect evolution brought him too many benefits that Lin Jin had become picky. He planned to follow the perfect evolution method for Xiaohua's future evolutions. If the perfect evolution method didn't appear, then he would just have to wait. His wait was clearly fruitful. After using the pulse-seeking technique to unblock and strengthen Xiaohua's spirit veins, Lin Jin appraised Xiaohua again, and the perfect evolution method finally appeared. Lin Jin quickly studied it. The perfect evolution method this time required very special items. First, Lin Jean had to master the coiled wire needle. Currently, Lin Jean had only grasped the technique and was still quite a distance away from mastering it. Next, he needed various rare herbs and fire spirit crystals. Lin Jean was already mentally prepared for these, but the last item, the dragon blood pill, left him at a loss. After studying the dragon blood pill carefully, Lin Jean found out that it was a pill refined by a professional alchemist using rare dragon blood essence. It had the miraculous effect of cleansing a pet beast's body and strengthening its bloodline. Lin Jean understood now. The main point was the strengthening bloodline part. Bloodlines were extremely important to pet beasts, and among the many types of bloodlines, dragon blood was definitely the best. The perfect evolution method that Lin Jean saw had very broad requirements for the dragon blood pill. In other words, no matter what grade it was, as long as it was a dragon blood pill, it would be fine. The problem was, where could he get his hands on this dragon blood pill? The next morning, after washing up, Lin Jean brought Xiao Hua and Goldie to the Beast Appraisal Association. At the entrance, when the guards saw Lin Jean, they immediately greeted him with smiles, not daring to show any signs of neglect. It was as if their attempt to stop Lin Jean yesterday had never happened. The apprentices he met all went up to greet him. Even if they were quite a distance away, they would still jog over in a respectful manner. Many female apprentices in particular took the initiative to greet him, their eyes filled with admiration. It turned out that yesterday's incident had already spread throughout the Beast Appraisal Association. Chapter 102. News of Lin Jean passing the Rank 2 Beast Appraiser's examination spread like wildfire. Everyone was now saying that he was the youngest Rank 2 Beast Appraiser in Maple City. A Rank 2 Beast Appraiser was an honorable title. It was no wonder many female Beast Appraisers were moved. Even if some of them were asked to throw themselves at him, they would be more than willing to do so. Lin Jean finally got to enjoy this vanity. Many people pretended to be dignified, saying that it was vanity and that they didn't like it. But when they actually had it, they were still elated. Lin Jean felt that there was no need to be so fake. If he liked it, he liked it. Hence, he walked all the way to his consultation hall. Feeling that it wasn't enough, he took a detour and walked through it again. Inside the consultation hall, Zhao Ying, Lu Xiaoyun, and Han Dong were already there. After witnessing Lin Jin's actions, they knew what was going on. They held their foreheads helplessly. Have you heard? Appraiser Lin's consultation hall was sold out early this morning. How could I not know? Wang Ji was the only one who received such treatment in the past. Don't mention that person. He suppressed his subordinates and plagiarized others. His reputation is completely ruined. I heard that headquarters has started an investigation on him. If he's not clean, forget becoming chief, he won't even be able to keep his Beast Appraiser license. Right? Now that the chief position of the association is vacant, do you think headquarters will promote the current chief or send someone else from headquarters? Who knows? But it's most likely that one of the 3 elders will temporarily take over. Tan Lin hadn't left yet. With such a major incident happening in Maple City's Beast Appraisal Association, as an inspector, how could she leave now? Now that she had removed Wang Ji from his position, headquarters would make arrangements to investigate him. She kept her promise and applied for her resignation from headquarters yesterday. After all, she was responsible for her negligence this time. It was just that Tan Lin had never imagined that after the headquarters revoked her position as an inspector, she would receive a new appointment from the headquarters last night. She would temporarily assume the role of chief of Maple City's Beast Appraisal Association. Although Tan Lin was young, she was considered a very young Rank 2 Beast Appraiser, even at headquarters. She had sufficient qualifications, but she didn't have any experience as a chief. However, she had no way of rejecting the orders from headquarters, especially with Tan Sun cheering her on. Other than that, Tan Lin had other plans in mind. Staying in Maple City for the time being was not a bad idea. After all, there weren't many opportunities for her to become a chief. On one hand, she could gain management experience. On the other hand, she could raise her qualifications and hone her beast appraising skills. As the appointment was only issued last night, Maple City's Beast Appraisal Association hadn't been officially notified yet. However, something like this couldn't be delayed, so this morning, she summoned the 3 elders of the association to announce the matter. The 3 elders naturally had different expressions. Elder Du was nonchalant. He did not care who became the guild leader. Elder Mo had a cold personality and did not care about power or whatnot. Only Nin Gongxian felt a little uncomfortable when he heard the order from the headquarters. Originally, he thought that according to convention, one of the 3 elders would temporarily hold the position of president. He was prepared for this, and he liked this kind of power. Although the status of the elders was high, their actual power was not great. It was not enough to be compared to the guild leader. If the elders held the position of guild leader, then their power would be monstrous. Unfortunately, his beautiful dream was shattered. Nin Gongxian was upset, but there was nothing he could do. Although Tan Lin was young, she was already a rank 2 beast appraiser with sufficient qualifications. Most importantly, she had a rank 3 beast appraiser for a father. Nin Gongxian couldn't compare. Inside the hall, Tan Lin took a deep breath and said, "All 3 of you are my seniors. I hope that you will take care of me in the future." Tan Lin was experienced in dealing with situations like this. After all, she came from a noble family. Sure. Elder Du nodded with a smile. "Keep up the good work." Elder Mo gave her a rare encouragement. "Chief Tan, please let us know if you have any orders. We will definitely cooperate." Nin Gongxian sounded slightly dissatisfied. How could Tan Lin not hear it? But she pretended not to. After informing the 3 elders, the next step was to notify the entire Beast Appraisal Association. Just as Lin Jin was busying himself, the association's notification arrived. Chief Tan Lin. Lin Jin was surprised. To him, that girl didn't seem much older than him, did she? She's already grown up? Speaking of Tan Lin, Lin Jin was initially resentful. After all, she had blindly listened to Wang Ji and the others and tried to kill him. Fortunately, Lin Jin wasn't a pushover. He countered every move and averted disaster. However, the fact that she was willing to learn from her mistakes and tried her best to make up for it made Lin Jin's impression of her improve. Strictly speaking, Tan Lin wasn't a bad person. She was just a little willful and arrogant. Come to think of it, Tan Lin being chief was a good thing. It was better than Nin Gongxian being chief. Appraiser Lin, Chief Tan has said that all consultation halls are busy, so please continue with your work. At noon, all beast appraisers will be invited to the main hall to officially inform headquarters of your appointment. The messenger was very polite to Lin Jin. Anyone who wasn't blind could tell that Lin Jin wasn't just an official beast appraiser. He was also a rank 2 beast appraiser. One could even say that Lin Jin was second only to the chief. After delivering the message, the messenger left. Lin Jin continued appraising and treating beasts. Due to his rising reputation, the number of people who came to him for beast appraisal and rare beast had increased tenfold compared to before. Lin Jin's number plate at the front hall had also increased accordingly. The number of plates a beast appraiser was allowed to put out in a day was decided beforehand, and the appraiser's opinion would be sought. In the past, no one had asked for Lin Jin's opinion because no one cared about his number plate. Today, his number plate had been emptied early in the morning. Hence, someone from the front hall came to ask if they could add more plates. Had it been anyone else, they probably wouldn't have agreed. Beast appraising and treating beasts was exhausting, but Lin Jin didn't have such a problem. Glancing at the time, he asked the person at the front hall to double his number plate. That person thought he had misheard. "Appraiser Lin, are you sure you want to double the number plate?" The female apprentice held a small notebook in her hand and reminded him softly, "You're currently issuing 35 plates per day. If you double it, wouldn't that be a little too much?" She clearly meant well. After all, appraising or treating 70 pet beasts in a day was a tiring task. Appraiser Gao Jiang only managed to get 35 number plates per day. As for the former chief Wang Ji, he only managed to get 30 number plates per day. "It's fine. I'll double it." Lin Jin was certain. Since he used the Museum of Deadly Beasts to appraise beasts, his time was much faster than others. If he wanted to forget 70, he could even do an additional 100 in a day. The only problem was that the evaluation reports were a little troublesome. After all, even if he had to make a copy, he would have to write it himself. The female apprentice looked at Lin Jean with admiration, her admiration for him growing. Little did she know that Lin Jean was more than happy for more plates to be recorded in the museum. Only then would he be able to trigger new rewards. Chapter 103. It was a busy morning. At noon, other than a few apprentice beast appraisers on duty in the emergency hall, everyone else went to the main hall for a simple ceremony. The inauguration ceremony of the new chief. Had it been Wang Ji doing this in the past, it would have been a tedious and extravagant affair. However, Tanlin clearly didn't like extravagance and insisted on simplicity. However, she still had to maintain a serious attitude. Currently, almost all apprentice beast appraisers were present in the main hall. There were more than 100 of them, and the 3 elders were present as well. Naturally, the 2 official beast appraisers, Lin Jean and Gao Jiang, had to be present as well. Not long after they arrived, Tanlin arrived. She was still dressed in the same purple dress, looking cold and aloof like an icy beauty, high and mighty. Most people in the association were happy to see the new chief being an icy beauty. Firstly, it was because of the new chief's good looks. Secondly, it was because of Wang Ji's era. Only people like Zhang, he who knew how to curry favor with others, could rise to the top. On the other hand, those who were down to earth in carrying out their tasks had no way of getting promoted. Now that the new chief was here, he should be able to change this unhealthy atmosphere. A few apprentice beast appraisers weren't present. These people were deeply involved in Wang Ji's affairs, and they even had mutual benefits. Moreover, Wang Ji's reputation wasn't clean. His sudden dismissal had exposed some of the ridiculous things he had done. Of course, only Tanlin and Elder Du knew about this. No one else knew. In other words, Wang Ji was done for. Forget making a comeback. He wouldn't even be able to keep his beast appraiser qualification. Although Tanlin was young, she had an imposing aura. Her simple opening and self-introduction were so experienced that the crowd couldn't get used to it. In short, from today onwards, I will work with everyone to strengthen our Maple City's Beast Appraisal Association. We will share both glory and disgrace. This was the conclusion. Compared to Wang Ji, the new chief was much more experienced. In the past, Wang Ji would take at least an hour to tame a beast. Also, there's something else today. Tanlin suddenly changed the topic and looked at Lin Jean, who was standing in the first row. Our association's appraiser Lin Jean has passed headquarters rank 2 beast appraiser examination. From today onwards, his rank will be raised. Appraiser Lin Jean, please come up to the stage. After Tanlin said that, everyone turned to Lin Jean. No one had expected such a scene. All of them wore looks of surprise, envy, and flattery. Forget them. Even Lin Jean didn't expect this. Tanlin had never mentioned this before, but now was not the time to ask about it. He took a few steps forward and walked to Tanlin's side. Someone brought a pair of satin sleeves. The sleeves were newly made, and there were 2 beast pattern rings clearly embroidered on it. Appraiser Lin, headquarters has passed the final review. This 2-ringed beast pattern sleeve was just delivered to us this morning. Since this is the perfect opportunity to give it to you, we can also use this as an opportunity to motivate everyone, Tanlin said flawlessly. However, Lin Jean could tell that she was giving Lin Jean a chance to make a name for himself so that she could make up for her misunderstanding of him. Having said that, Tanlin personally helped Lin Jean put on the rank 2 beast appraiser's sleeve. Immediately, all sorts of congratulatory voices rang out from below. Congratulations, Appraiser Lin. Appraiser Lin's reputation is well-deserved. Among the crowd, Dong he looked miserable as if he had just swallowed a fly. On the other side, Jia Qian was expressionless. But upon closer inspection, one could see a hint of helplessness and envy in the depths of her eyes. Many rank 1 beast appraisers found it difficult to achieve rank 2 in their entire lives. Sometimes it was due to a lack of opportunities, but most of the time, it was due to a lack of ability. The rank 2 beast appraiser's examination was no joke. Jia Qian now had a lot of people pointing fingers at her behind her back. After Wang Ji's downfall, There were many rumors that she and Wang Ji had an affair, and the rumors were all very convincing. Jia Qian didn't refute them. There was no way she could refute them. The hardest thing in this world was to change one person's opinion, but what was even harder was to change the opinion of a group of people. Jia Qian knew that she couldn't do it. She couldn't even pass the rank 1 beast appraiser's examination. But someone could. In a short period of time, someone managed to turn the tables and change the opinions of a group of people. Jia Qian snuck a glance at Lin Jin, recalling her memories from school. She wanted to find out what was so special about Lin Jin, why he could do it and she couldn't. Tan Lin was a swift and decisive person. She announced her appointment, announced Lin Jin's promotion to rank 2, and that was it. He didn't waste any time, which undoubtedly won the favor of many people. Some of the more sophisticated ones could tell that this was Tan Lin's doing. Admittedly, despite her young age, she must be quite capable for headquarters to appoint her as Maple City's chief. Appraiser Lin, Appraiser Gao, please come to my consultation hall for a moment, Tan Lin said before she left. Lin Jin stopped in his tracks. Gao Jiang had already caught up to Tan Lin, acting respectful. Inside the consultation hall, Tan Lin sat down on a chair and gestured for Lin Jin and Gao Jiang to sit down as well. Lin Jin was casual while Gao Jiang was reserved. However, who knew if he was being reserved for real or if he was faking it? Both of you are official beast appraisers of the association, our pillars of support. I'll be needing your help in the future, Tan Lin said straightforwardly. She had a rough understanding of the association situation. She might not know everything, but she definitely knew something about it. She knew about Lin Jin's situation and Gao Jiang's background as well. In the past, these two didn't get along mainly because Gao Jiang had been suppressing Lin Jin. But now that Lin Jin had risen to prominence, she was afraid that they would fight amongst themselves. This was something Tan Lin, as the new chief, didn't want to see. She had called them here to mediate. Lin Jin and Gao Jiang weren't dumb. They understood Tan Lin's intention. Lin Jin didn't mind. He didn't think he had any grudges with Gao Jiang. Although Gao Jiang was feeling guilty, he had made it clear that he would support Tan Lin, as long as he had a good attitude. After leaving Tan Lin's consultation hall, Gao Jiang glanced at Lin Jin before turning to leave. Clearly, he was still unconvinced by Lin Jin. Gao Jiang even felt that it was a form of humiliation. However, Lin Jin was too powerful for him to go against. He could only ignore him. After returning home, Gao Jiang grew angrier the more he thought about it. Tan Lin was young, but she had a powerful father whom he couldn't afford to offend. But what did Lin Jin have? What right did he have to suppress Gao Jiang? In terms of family background, Lin Jin wasn't even worth mentioning. In terms of experience, Gao Jiang had been an official beast appraiser for a longer period of time. But now, Lin Jin's status in the association had surpassed his. Gao Jiang could imagine how frustrated he was when he heard the others talking about him. Rank 2 beast appraiser. I'll pass the exam sooner or later. Just then, one of his apprentices informed him that someone was looking for him outside. Gao Jiang's eyes lit up when he saw who it was. Chen Cheng, why are you here? Gao Jiang chuckled. The person looking for him was none other than the Friar Association's Chen Cheng. It was obvious that they had known each other for a long time, and they shared a close relationship. Gao Jiang, I'm here to ask for your help. There's a kid in your association named Lin Jin. Help me teach him a lesson. Chen Cheng went straight to the point. Chapter 104. The person Chen Cheng told Chen Yuanyuan about in the Beast Appraisal Association was obviously Gao Jiang. To him, Gao Jiang was a member of the Gao family, one of Maple City's top 3 families. He was also an official beast appraiser of the Beast Appraisal Association. Be it experience, ability, or influence, Gao Jiang was more than enough to crush Lin Jin. However, Chen Cheng didn't expect Gao Jiang's expression to change right after he said that. Gao Jiang shook his head with a dark expression. I can't help you with this. What's going on? You're not even willing to help me with such a small matter? Chen Cheng was surprised. In the past, Gao Jiang had never refused his requests. Seeing Chen Cheng's displeasure, Gao Jiang could only pull him into the house and explain the current situation in detail. Chen Cheng, although we're good brothers, Lin Jin's experience and status surpass mine. Why would I want to mess with him? I should count myself lucky that he's not messing with me, Gao Jiang said with a sullen expression. He wasn't exaggerating. Lin Jin was now a rank 2 beast appraiser. Just this fact alone was enough to suppress him. Chen Cheng was dumbfounded. He clearly didn't expect the Lin Jin that his cousin said was a good-for-nothing was actually this impressive. Due to the internal affairs of the Beast Appraisal Association, few outsiders knew about them. Moreover, it happened yesterday, so the news hadn't spread yet. In addition, Chen Cheng only found out about Wang Ji's fall from grace. The Beast Appraisal Association had undergone a huge change. Now, Chen Cheng understood why Gao Jiang refused to help. So that's what happened. Chen Cheng was deep in thought. He was starting to hesitate. A rank 2 beast appraiser had a much higher status than a rank 1 beast appraiser. This Lin Jin had turned from a chicken to a phoenix. It was best not to provoke him lest he brought trouble upon himself. Since they had a good relationship, Gao Jiang complained to Chen Cheng and asked why Chen Cheng wanted to mess with Lin Jin. It was then that he found out about Lin Jin and Chen Yuan. I really didn't know about this. In other words, your cousin used to be engaged to Lin Jin? Gao Jiang was dumbfounded. Chen Cheng nodded. But my cousin was infatuated with Yang Jie, so she thought of a way to break off the engagement. Who knew that Lin Jin would be able to turn things around? News of what happened in the Beast Appraisal Association over the past 2 days slowly spread. At first, only a few people knew about it. But as time went by, the news spread, and by evening, most people knew about it. Chen Yuan was no exception. When she first found out about it, she didn't believe it at all. However, things wouldn't disappear just because she didn't believe it. When it was confirmed, Chen Yuan knew that it was true. She recalled how that Lu woman mentioned that Lin Jin was already a rank 2 beast appraiser at the entrance of the Maple Flower Festival yesterday. At that time, Chen Yuan only thought that the other party was bragging. Who would have thought that it was actually true? At this moment, Chen Yuan's mind was like an overturned bottle with all kinds of feelings. Back then, she had taken a liking to Lin Jin as well. Otherwise, she wouldn't have agreed to marry him. However, after some time, she realized that Lin Jin had no future. Coincidentally, she had met Yang Jie once and was instantly infatuated with him. That was why she insisted on breaking off the engagement. But now, the Lin Jin she thought would never amount to much in this lifetime had become a rank 2 beast appraiser so quickly. Even she was hurting from the slap in the face. Chen Yuan returned home with complicated feelings, only to see her father, Chen Wenlin, sitting in the yard with a straight face. The servants were as quiet as cicadas in winter. They tried their best to be as quiet as possible when they were sweeping the floor, afraid that they would disturb their master. After all, anyone could tell that their master was in a terrible mood. Chen Yuan had been pampered since she was young, but she was still quite afraid of Chen Wenlin. Hence, one look, and she could tell that something had happened. Father. It was a tradition for them to greet each other at home. Having said that, she was about to slip away. Stop right there, Chen Wenlin bellowed. Chen Yuan quickly stood still, not daring to move. Chen Wenlin sighed. Yuan, back then, you insisted on breaking off the engagement with Lin Jin. No matter how much I tried to persuade you, you wouldn't listen. Fine, as a father, I can't force my daughter, so I gave in to you. After all, marriage is a big deal, and it won't be sweet if you force it. But let me ask you, when I asked you to visit Lin Jin and sincerely apologize to him and give him 300 taels of silver, did you go? At this, Chen Yuan's heart thumped. She did go, but it was to mock and ridicule Lin Jin. She didn't give him the money either, keeping it for her own expenses. Chen Wenlin continued, I owed Lin Jin a favor, and I saw that he was young, promising, and had a good character, so I wanted to matchmake the two of you. In the end, our Chun family broke off the engagement because we were in the wrong and we owed Lin Jin a debt. I was embarrassed and too ashamed to face him, so I asked you to do it. Who knew that you would dare to commit such atrocities? I didn't, Chen Yuan retorted, but she lacked confidence. You're still so stubborn. Chen Wenlin was infuriated. He took a few steps forward and slapped Chen Yuanyuan across the face. The slap stunned Chen Yuanyuan. Her eyes widened as she cried. Chen Wenlin's anger hadn't subsided yet. You still have a cheek to cry. Having said that, he turned to the side and said, All of you, get your asses out here. At once, a few of the Chen family's maids walked out, their heads lowered and their faces pale. These maids were Chen Yuanyuan's confidants. Upon seeing them, how could Chen Yuanyuan not know that these confidants had confessed? She was a little scared. Chen Wenlin pointed at them and said, They've already confessed. How long are you going to quibble? This time, Chen Yuanyuan fell to her knees and sobbed quietly, not daring to argue any further. She knew Chen Wenlin's temper. If she continued to speak, she would definitely be punished. Chen Wenlin looked disappointed. If I hadn't questioned them today and exposed their lies, who knows how much longer you'd be able to hide this from me? Our Chen family may not be a scholarly family, but we're not ungrateful either. Go look for Lin Ji now. If you can't get his forgiveness, don't ever step foot into this house again. Scram! Chen Wenlin was furious. Chen Wenlin was furious. Having said that, he kicked the chair away and stormed off in anger. Chen Yuanyuan was so frightened that she started crying. All this while, Chen Wenlin had been doting on her. It was also because she had lost her mother that Chen Wenlin doted on her even more. He had never scolded her like this before. Fear, grievance, and terror surged into her heart, causing Chen Yuanyuan to cry like a pear blossom in the rain. At this time, a few trusted subordinates came over and whispered, Miss Master is really angry this time. You'd better listen to him. Chen Yuanyuan was still crying. But even after her tears dried up, Chen Wenlin didn't come out. Chen Yuanyuan now knew that her father was truly angry. Although she felt wronged and indignant, she could only get up and say through gritted teeth, I'll go apologize to Lin Jin. Having said that, she rushed out of the house in tears. When she arrived at Lin Jin's house, he was having a joyous conversation with Lu Yunhe. Lu Yunhe wasn't the only one here. Zhao Ying, Lu Xiaoyun, and Han Dong were here too. Lin Jin had officially obtained the 2-ring beast pattern sleeve band, so it was time to celebrate. However, there were too many things to do during the day. Today alone, Lin Jin had appraised over 100 beasts and treated over 50 beasts. Not a single person in the entire Beast Appraisal Association could match his efficiency. It was too fast, and he didn't do it half-heartedly. Because it was too much, Tan Lin even went to Lin Jin to understand the situation. It was then that Lin Jin realized he had gone overboard. Sometimes, it wasn't a good thing to stand out too much. Hence, Lin Jin instructed the front hall to reduce the number of tokens to 35 starting tomorrow. Otherwise, the other beast appraisers would be embarrassed. Just then, someone could be heard crying outside. Lin Jin, come out. I was wrong. Chapter 105. Everyone was dumbfounded. Lin Jin didn't know what was going on either. But since someone was calling for him, he had to see who it was. And so, he opened the door. Lin Jin frowned when he saw Chen Yuanyuan crying her eyes out. Behind him, Lu Xiaoyun's expression turned cold as well. She then explained the situation to the clueless Zhao Ying and Han Dong. What are you doing here? Lin Jin disliked Chen Yuanyuan very much. Despite her good looks, her personality and morals were despicable. Lin Jin, my father wants me to apologize to you. You have to forgive me, or my father won't let me back into the Chen family. Chen Yuanyuan felt wronged. She didn't think she had done anything wrong, but she didn't dare to disobey her father's orders. If he really forbade her from entering the house, where would she live? What would she eat? A flower growing in a greenhouse couldn't handle the storm outside on its own. The flower knew this very well. Lin Jin's frown deepened. Last time, when I wanted to break off the engagement, my father didn't agree. However, I insisted on doing so. So he nodded and asked me to apologize to you and give you the money. But I didn't apologize, and I even ridiculed you. I also kept the money for myself. My father just found out about this. At the thought of her grievances, Chen Yuanyuan cried again. Needless to say, Chen Yuanyuan, who was crying like a pear blossom in the rain, was really a little pitiful. Lu Xiaoyun was fuming. She wanted to say something, but was stopped by Lu Yunha. Xiaoyun, Brother Lin knows what to do, Lu Yunha said softly. No doubt, Qin Yuanyuan's tactic was a trick to gain sympathy. It wasn't hard to guess why she would do this. If she wanted to apologize, why didn't she come before? Why did she have to wait until Lin Jin achieved greatness and became a rank 2 beast appraiser? The other party's motive was self-evident. My father said he was too ashamed to see you, so he asked me to come. Lin Jin, I was wrong. Please forgive me. If you forgive me, my father won't chase me out, Qin Yuanyuan said in tears. At a time like this, a soft-hearted person might just agree. After all, Qin Yuanyuan was crying so hard that she admitted her mistake. Her father had also taught her a lesson. Hence, even if Lin Jin had to cut ties with her, nodding and forgiving wasn't a big deal. However, Lin Jin smiled and went back to retrieve an envelope before handing it to Qin Yuanyuan. Go back and give this to your father. He won't chase you out. Having said that, Lin Jin waved his hand and turned to return to the yard without sparing Qin Yuanyuan another glance. The latter stared at the envelope in slight astonishment. To be honest, Qin Yuanyuan was very unwilling to admit her mistake because she believed that she was not in the wrong. It was only because Chen Wenlin scolded her, forced her, and even slapped her that Qin Yuanyuan was so terrified that she ran over to admit her mistake. As long as Lin Jin said that he forgave her, she would be able to report back. Deep down, she hated Lin Jin even more, blaming him for everything that had happened. Now, Lin Jin had given her an envelope. Although he didn't say that he forgave her, she could at least assume that he did. Thinking of this, Qin Yuanyuan turned to leave. In her eyes, Lin Jin was much better than before. After all, he had passed the rank 2 beast appraiser exam. But so what? Compared to Yang Jia, he was still not worth mentioning. After Qin Yuanyuan left, the atmosphere in the yard became a little awkward. Lu Xiaoyun was still sulking. Zhaoying didn't say anything. Han Dong didn't dare to ask questions, and Lu Yunhe looked like he understood. Lin Jin smiled. None of them understood. Qin Yuanyuan was a simple-minded, willful, selfish, and filled with fantasies. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she was childish. Even if she knew that Lin Jin had become a rank 2 beast appraiser, she would only be shocked, jealous, and annoyed, but she would never regret it. People like her were too full of themselves. The word wrong didn't exist in her dictionary. The one who truly regretted was Chen Wenlin. Regarding Chen Wenlin of Qin Medicine Hall, Lin Jin only knew a little about him from his predecessor's memories. How should he put it? The man seemed honest and righteous, but that wasn't the case. As the saying went, you may know a person for a long time, but you can't judge a person's heart. One shouldn't judge a person by their words, but by their actions. When Lin Jin was in dire straits, Chen Wenlin never once came to visit. Why didn't the patriarch of the Chen family stop Qin Yuanyuan from breaking off the engagement? It wasn't that he didn't stop her, but he never thought of doing so. Of course, Chen Wenlin didn't support it either. But this only served to prove one thing. Hypocrisy. Back when Lin Jin was being oppressed by the Beast Appraisal Association, Chen Wenlin realized this and probably regretted his impulsive decision to betroth his daughter to Lin Jin. Later on, when Chen Yuanyuan broke off the engagement willfully, Chen Wenlin claimed that he didn't agree to it. But that was just lip service. In the end, he still acquiesced to Chen Yuanyuan calling off the engagement. If he really disagreed, Chen Yuanyuan wouldn't be able to do it even if she dared to. Now that he knew that Lin Jin had become a rank 2 beast appraiser and that Wang Ji had fallen from grace, he had a bright future ahead of him. Chen Wenlin might even know about Lin Jin's relationship with Gumengzhong, so Chen Wenlin regretted it. However, this regret wasn't because he felt that he had done something wrong. Instead, it was because he wanted to redeem the friendship he had abandoned. Chen Yuanyuan's arrival was only the first step. Lin Jin was sure that Chen Wenlin didn't plan on relying on Chen Yuanyuan's tears and pitiful act to wipe the slate clean. This was just an appetizer. Later on, Chen Wenlin would definitely think of a way to ease their relationship and re-establish their friendship. He might even try to renew the engagement. This was a brilliant tactic that most people wouldn't be able to see through. Had it been the previous Lin Jin, he would have fallen for this trick in a daze and been toyed with by the old fox. However, Lin Jin had lived 2 lives. In this modern world, he had watched countless palace dramas and spy movies. How could this trick possibly fool him? Hence, Lin Jin decided to cut the Gordian knot and put an end to Chen Wenlin's little scheme once and for all. There was no hatred, no anger. He simply didn't want to have anything to do with Chen Wenlin anymore. Lin Jin didn't bring up this matter. Instead, he continued the conversation with Lu Yunhe because Lu Yunhe had mentioned something that caught Lin Jin's attention. "Brother Cloud Crane, is what you said true?" Lin Jin asked. Lu Yunhe was still in a daze. What was it that he asked? "The dragon blood pill. Tell me, is it true that the champion of the Friar Association's tournament will be rewarded with a dragon blood pill?" Lin Jin repeated his question with a glint in his eyes. About that, Lu Yunhe finally reacted and nodded. "Of course it's true, but it's only a lesser dragon blood pill. It's still a little lacking compared to the legendary dragon blood pill." Lin Jin nodded as he pondered. A lesser dragon blood pill was still a dragon blood pill. Previously, Lin Jin had been thinking about how he could complete Xiao Hua's next perfect evolution. Who knew he would hear such important information from Lu Yunhe? This was an opportunity. If he missed it, who knew when he would get another chance? Lin Jin made up his mind to get his hands on it. He then asked Lu Yunhe a few more questions, such as whether one had to be an official member of the Friar Association in order to apply for the tournament. He also asked about the age limit and when the tournament would be held. Curious, Lu Yunhe couldn't resist asking, "Brother Lin, why are you asking so many questions?" "Nothing." Lin Jin waved his hand with a smile. "That's right. I'd like to ask for your help in getting me into the Friar Association." Chapter 106. The Chun Family. Chen Wenlin's expression darkened as he read the letter in his hand. Opposite him, Chen Yuan stood obediently. She was still afraid of her father, especially after realizing that her father was truly enraged. Hence, even if she was indignant, she didn't dare to show it. She had secretly read the letter on her way here, so she knew what was written inside. This Lin Jin doesn't know how to appreciate favors. He thinks he's so great just because he's a rank 2 beast appraiser. In my eyes, he's still a country bumpkin, a piece of trash. Yang Jie is still the best. As Chen Yunyuan thought about the Friar Association's Yang Jie, her face flushed red. "You can leave now." Chen Wenlin waved his hand and chased Chen Yuanyuan out. When only Chen Wenlin was left in the room, he put the letter down. Not a single word was written on the letter. It was completely empty. It was a wordless letter. Others might be baffled, but what kind of person was Chen Wenlin? He had built up the Chun family from scratch all by himself. With his shrewdness, how could he not understand the meaning behind this letter? By asking Chen Yuanyuan to bring back a wordless letter, Lin Jin had made his attitude clear. Wordless meant he had nothing to say, which meant he had nothing to say. Lin Jin's attitude towards the Chun family could be summed up in 4 words: nothing to say. As the saying went, words were unnecessary. Lin Jin wanted to use this letter to tell Chen Wenlin that he could no longer return to his previous relationship with the Chen family. Chen Wenlin was filled with regret. With a dark expression, he mumbled, "Who would have thought that this Lin Jin would rise to power and make a comeback? I misjudged him. If I knew he could do this, I would have helped him when he was down. Now, it's going to be difficult to salvage the situation. But young people are hot-blooded and don't know how to negotiate. Once he calms down, I can still pull him back with a little help." Just then, Chen Wenlin called the butler Indiana. "Yuan went to the Friar Association today. Did she go to look for Yang Jie again?" Chen Wenlin asked. The housekeeper was obviously Chen Wenlin's trusted aide. At this moment, he hurriedly nodded. "Old master, it's not like you don't know what Miss is thinking. She's very infatuated with that Yang Jie. She even said that she'd be willing to be his concubine." "Nonsense. This is simply nonsense. That Lin Jin is still easier to control. A rank 2 beast appraiser. TSK. This title is enough to propel our Chun family into a large family. When that time comes, we might not be any weaker than the Gao family, or the Zhu family. Go. Get someone to make a plaque and deliver it to Lin Jean at the Beast Appraisal Association tomorrow. I want to boil frogs in warm water. Chen Wenlin was exasperated. I know about that Yang Jia. How can a golden scale beast appraiser be an ordinary person? A person like him will soar into the sky in the future. A person like him will surely soar into the sky in the future. If she can really be his concubine, that's fine too. Yes, master, I'll do as you say. The butler left, but soon returned. What's wrong? Chen Wenlin asked with a frown. The butler whispered, Old master, the Shi family's son-in-law, Wu Chenwei is here. Chen Wenlin's eyes lit up, and he quickly said, All right, invite him in. Whether our Chun family can rise in Maple City depends on this person. Beast appraisers and friars were completely different. It was like a chef and an entertainer. They were completely different. The only connection was between pet beasts. However, one specialized in research and treatment, while the other used pet beasts to improve their combat strength. Their research focused on blood contract cultivation and spells. Lin Jean applied for a short leave from Tan Lin before rushing over to the Friar Association. The Friar Association was much larger than the Beast Appraisal Association. Relatively speaking, this place was more like an academy. The general entrance exam was similar to the entrance exam. It was held once a year, and it was a unified exam with many participants. Wait for the entrance exam? That wasn't realistic. There was no time. Hence, when Lin Jean asked Lu Yunhe if there was any other way to get him in, Lu Yunhe gave him a suggestion. That was to get recommended by the association's mentors. This was the only way to get into the association without having to pass the entrance exam. There weren't many mentors in the Friar Association, but they were all impressive people. None of them were easy to deal with. However, with Lu Yunhe around, Lin Jean could use this relationship to introduce Lu Yunhe's mentor, Huang Fuming. However, Lu Yunhe had clearly told Lin Jean not to get his hopes up. He was frank about how this mentor of his was an upright and strict man who wouldn't tolerate even the slightest mistake. Huang Fuming had never made an exception for Lin Jean before. However, Lin Jean was insistent, so Lu Yunhe had no choice but to agree to the recommendation and put in a good word for him. If that didn't work, then there was nothing else he could do. Lu Yunhe couldn't understand Lin Jin's sudden desire to enter the Friar Association. Just like Lu Xiaoyun, Lu Yunhe wouldn't keep anything to himself and would just ask directly. Lin Jean confessed that it was for the dragon blood pill. After hearing that, Lu Yunhe shook his head repeatedly and bluntly said that apart from the teachers, everyone in the Friar Association was allowed to participate in the Grand Cultivator Tournament. When the time came, there would be countless experts, and it would be almost impossible to obtain first place. Even I wouldn't dare to think about it, Lu Yunhe answered honestly. However, he clearly couldn't dissuade Lin Jean. Hence, he could only let Lin Jean be. Lu Yunhe thought to himself, the Friar Association is different from the Beast Appraisal Association. It's completely different. Appraiser Lin may be good at appraising and treating beasts, but in the Friar Association, we don't compete in appraising and treating beasts. Instead, we compete in blood contract realms and various spells. At the entrance, Lu Yunhe received Lin Jean and brought him to a secluded courtyard inside the Friar Association. Brother Lin, no matter how I think about it, this isn't a good idea. I think you should reconsider. Lu Yunhe wanted to persuade the hot-headed Lin Jean one last time. Lin Jean smiled. Don't try to persuade me. I've made up my mind. All right, I won't say any more. Lu Yunhe had Lin Jean wait outside the courtyard while he went in. After a while, he came back out. Brother Lin, come on in. I've explained the situation. When you meet my mentor, Mr. Huangfu, you'll have to pay attention to your manners. Lin Jean nodded. Thanks. Come to my place tonight and bring Lu Ba along. I'll help him evolve. At this, Lu Yunhe's eyes lit up. It's a deal. Okay. The courtyard was secluded. Walking along the cobblestone path, Lin Jean could see many young cultivators reading books while some were practicing their spells. On an empty field up ahead, a group of young cultivators sat cross-legged. An old man with his hands behind his back was imparting a mantra while the young cultivators listened attentively. Lin Jin noticed a pond not too far away. There was something in the pond. My mentor is teaching. Brother Lin, please wait here for a moment, Lu Yunhe said softly. Lin Jin was curious. Aren't you going to listen? Lu Yunhe said proudly. These are all newbies, and I'm their eldest senior. Usually, when a mentor is busy, I'm the one teaching them. Oh, Lin Jin didn't know Lu Yunhe was this amazing. Chapter 107. Lu Yunhe dared not delay any longer, so he excused himself. Only Lin Jin was left standing by the side, watching Mr. Huang Fuming teach. Since he had nothing to do, Lin Jin listened attentively. He was talking about how to use spirit energy. The content was actually quite profound. After listening for a while, Lin Jin understood the gist of it. It was about how to maximize the use of limited spirit energy when casting spells. In short, it was about increasing one's income and reducing expenditure. It was the same principle as running a household. Because a person's spirit energy was limited, how to utilize this limited spirit energy to maximize its value was the crux of this lesson. For different families, one silver could last them a few days, while some might not even last a day. Mr. Huang Fuming's lecture was profound, proving that he was truly knowledgeable. Lin Jin was so engrossed in his lecture that he didn't even notice the passage of time. Almost 2 hours later, the lecture was finally over. Lin Jin was still longing for more. Huang Fuming said, "Remember, ever since the fall of the ancient path of immortals, the world's spirit energy has been reduced to nothing. There are no longer any traces of immortals, but cultivation still goes on. The spirit energy within our bodies is limited. Today, I'll be testing you on what you've learned. Does anyone know how to measure spirit energy nowadays?" This question was obviously easier, so the students scrambled to answer it. Huang Fuming pointed at one person, and that person immediately got up and bowed. Veins are like rivers, and blood contains spirit energy. In the early days, spirit energy was measured in buckets. Later on, stones were used as the measurement unit. The so-called stones are spirit levitation stones. They have a fixed size and weight. The number of stones a person's spirit energy can levitation at the same time is used to calculate the amount of spirit energy a person has. This method has been used ever since. Huang Fuming nodded, satisfied. Take a break. Having said that, Huang Fuming turned to Lin Jin. Knowing it was time for him to go over, Lin Jin stepped forward. "Greetings, Mr. Huang Fu." Lin Jin was courteous. Huang Fuming raised his hand and returned the greeting. Huang Fuming greets Appraiser Lin. Lin Jin was now a rank 2 Beast Appraiser. In terms of Beast Appraiser rank, he was on par with Wang Ji in the past. Hence, Huang Fuming returned the greeting. Just as Lu Yunhe had mentioned, this Mr. Huang Fu was very particular about rules. He wouldn't put on airs just because he was older or because Lin Jin had a favor to ask. To Lin Jin, this was a good thing. At least Mr. Huang Fu was talking about the matter as it stood. In this case, as long as he could deal with Mr. Huang Fu, the matter of recommending him would be a piece of cake. Yin, he has explained the situation to me, but there's one thing I don't understand. Since Appraiser Lin is already a rank 2 appraiser and has achieved so much, you should be focusing on your field of expertise instead. Why did you join the Friar Association? Huang Fuming asked. It was obvious that he was very concerned about this matter. Of course, Lin Jin wouldn't say that it was for the dragon blood pill. Lu Yunhe had warned him repeatedly. If he did, Huang Fuming would never recommend him. As for how he should answer, Lu Yunhe pointed out a path that Lin Jin agreed with. Well, it's because I've recently hit a bottleneck in my research on beast appraising. What cultivators learn are all pet beast strengthening spells, so I'm trying to absorb some knowledge from them to enrich my appraisal skills. Lin Jin lied through his teeth, and he did it with utmost sincerity. Huang Fuming nodded in agreement. That's true. I've done some research on beast appraising books, and the two can indeed complement each other. Yin, he is my disciple, so since he has spoken, I can't very well reject him. However, in order to be recommended into the association, you'll have to undergo a test according to the rules. Huang Fu-ming didn't make things difficult for Lin Jin. Just as Liu Yun has said, he followed the rules. However, this test wasn't an easy one. This was to be expected. After all, they were making an exception to recommend someone into the association. If they weren't capable, why would they make an exception? For the normal entrance test, the first test is on the levitation stone. Stone is a measure of spirit energy, so one must have at least 4 stones. After all, this is the key to casting spells. Appraiser Lin, the recommended candidate, must have at least 6 stones of spirit energy to pass. Huang Fu-ming ordered someone to bring over spirit levitation stones. Spirit levitation stones were magnetic stones the size of a fist. They were as heavy as metal and were very heavy. 12 of them were brought over this time. For the normal test, 12 stones would form a set. For newcomers, 1 set of spirit levitation stones was enough. After becoming a member of the Friar Association, they could head to the Levitation Stone Tower to have their spirit energy measured. The tower could support up to 6 sets of 72 spirit levitation stones. Seeing that someone was about to take the spirit levitation stone test, many Friar Association disciples gathered around to watch the show. Appraiser Lin, before Huang Fu-ming could finish, Lin Jin quickly interrupted. Mr. Huang Fu, this is the Friar Association. You could just call me Lin Jin. Huang Fu-ming gave it some thought before nodding. Lin Jin, do you know the spell for the spirit levitation stone? Lin Jin shook his head. Then I'll teach you once. This spell is actually very simple. Huang Fu-ming recited the incantation. Just as he said, the spell was simple. After all, it was a spell that manipulated one's spirit energy. With Lin Jin's foundation, he quickly grasped it. Then let's begin the spirit energy measurement. Huang Fu-ming pointed at a set of spirit levitation stones on the ground. The process of the test was to use the spell to manipulate spirit energy to see how many spirit levitation stones could float in the air. For Lin Jin to join the association, he must have at least 6 stones of spirit energy. The surrounding disciples discussed in hushed tones. How many stones of spirit energy do you guys think this person can achieve? I heard he was recommended by Senior Liu. I don't think he'll have any problems passing. Not necessarily. It's not like no one tried to join the association as an exception. In the end, they only managed to barely achieve 4 stones of spirit energy. Many people didn't dare to take the exam because they knew they couldn't pass. Hence, they put all their efforts into getting recommended members. Many of them managed to sneak in through connections. If it were other mentors, they might just turn a blind eye. But our Mr. Huang Fu has always been known for his strictness, so he definitely won't do that. Lin Jin was also curious about the level of his spirit energy. He had never tested it before. After familiarizing himself with the spell, Lin Jin immediately formed a seal. Spirit energy was mobilized. A few of the spirit levitation stones immediately reacted. They let out a buzzing sound and floated up. After a quick count, there were 4 spirit levitation stones floating in the air. Just SOSO. And here I thought this person was amazing. Yeah, he can't even compare to me. Many disciples laughed inwardly. But before they could finish laughing, another 4 spirit levitation stones buzzed and floated up. Altogether, there were 8 of them now. That was 8 stones of spirit energy. The disciples immediately became listless. Many of them couldn't even reach that level. Even Huang Fu-ming nodded in agreement. 8 stones of spirit energy was a pass. Chapter 108. Lin Jin stopped releasing his spirit energy at the sight of 8 floating in the air. He still had some strength left, but there was no need to go all out. As a newcomer, he had to know how to hide his strength. However, Lin Jin really wanted to know just how much spirit energy he had. Huang Fu-ming could tell that Lin Jin was holding back. This Lin Jin is a rank 2 beast appraiser with a solid foundation. From what I can see, the amount of spirit energy in his body is at least around 10 stones, which should be enough for him to join the Friar Association, Huang Fu-ming mused. Then, he said, his spirit energy level is up to standard. Next, we'll be testing his knowledge of beasts. As soon as he said those words, Huang Fuming came to a realization. As a rank 2 beast appraiser, Lin Jin's specialty was knowledge about beasts. He could even teach them, so this wasn't a problem for him. After thinking for a moment, Huang Fuming shook his head. Forget it. I won't test you on ferocious beasts. There was indeed no need to take the test. However, physical fitness, blood contract aptitude, and pet beasts still had to be tested. But to Lin Jin, these were just formalities. These tests were obviously not difficult for him. Relatively speaking, the most difficult part was probably the amount of spiritual energy. After all, beast appraisers didn't take this test. As long as one's spiritual energy reached the required standard, it wouldn't be difficult to join the association. Lin Jin passed the test. Lin Jin, this is my recommendation letter. Take it to the disciple hall. You'll be able to register yourself and officially join the Friar Association. Huang Fuming was straightforward. It was obvious that he admired Lin Jin. Lin Jin was puzzled as he read the recommendation letter. This was a little different from what Lu Yunhe had said before. Lu Yunhe had told him that if he passed, he should have become Huang Fuming's disciple directly. Huang Fuming's name would be written in the instructor's column on the letter. But in this letter, the instructor's column was blank. At Lin Jin's question, Huang Fuming shook his head. My requirements are very high. Absences are not allowed. If you can do that, I can take you in as my disciple. But you might not be able to do it. At this, Lin Jin chuckled dryly. Without another word, he bowed and left. Huang Fuming was indeed a man of character. He knew that it was impossible for him to come and listen to his lessons every day, so he didn't accept him. However, he didn't make things difficult for him during the examination and still recommended him. It was easy to tell what kind of person he was. Friar Association, Disciple Pavilion. Lin Jin found the manager here and handed him Huang Fuming's recommendation letter. Mr. Huang Fu recommended him. The manager was puzzled, but didn't make things difficult for Lin Jin. After verifying that there were no mistakes, he registered Lin Jin and gave him the Friar Association's disciple token along with the disciple's handbook. There are rules here. Take a look at it yourself. Also, you'll have to pay 50 taels every year. You can pay for a few years at a time, or you can pay 1 year at a time, the manager said as he looked at Lin Jin. 50 taels of silver a year. There were quite a lot of them. No wonder some of the children of poor families couldn't even get in. However, he had heard that there was a similar scholarship system. If one's ability was outstanding, not only would they not have to pay, they would even be able to earn money. However, as Lin Jin had just arrived, he still had to pay his first year's membership fee. Fortunately, he was quite wealthy now, so he could afford 50 silvers. After paying the fee and obtaining the token, one would be considered an official member of the Friar Association. In the Friar Association, one could study freely or learn under a mentor. It was all up to the individual. To Lin Jin, free study was more suitable for him. There were too many rules and restrictions when it came to learning from a master. It was indeed inappropriate. Just then, Lin Jin saw a tower up ahead with the words Levitation Stone Tower written on it. This was the place to test one's spirit energy. To a friar, spirit energy was extremely important. Some spells required a large amount of spirit energy to be cast. Without spirit energy, no matter how good the spell was, it would be useless. During the test earlier, Lin Jin was able to levitate 8 stones, but he still had energy left over. So since he had come across it, why not go in and test it out to see how much spirit energy he actually had? At this, Lin Jin brought Xiao Hu with him and strode over. The Levitation Stone Tower had a total of 6 floors. Each floor had 1 set of spirit levitation stones. The second floor had 2 sets, and so on. On the 6th floor, there would be 6 sets of spirit levitation stones. Once he showed his disciple token, he could enter. Lin Jin went to the first floor and entered an examination room. Inside was a set of 12 spirit levitation stones placed on ground. This time, Lin Jin didn't hold back. Casting a spirit levitation stone spell, the 12 stones immediately levitated simultaneously. 12 stones. But this wasn't the limit. because there were only 12 stones here. Let's try going up to the second floor. Having made up his mind, Lin Jin headed upstairs. On the second floor, the examination rooms all had 2 sets of 24 spirit levitation stones. Usually, there were fewer people who came to the second floor to take the test. Among the disciples, few could exceed 12 stones of spirit energy. Of course, that didn't apply to the exceptional ones. Just like Lu Yunhe, he once said that his spirit energy was 23 stones. After the test, Lin Jin levitated 24 spirit levitation stones in one go. Even he was surprised by this result. I didn't know I was this amazing. Lin Jin really didn't expect this. He had only been appraising and treating beasts, so he had no idea how much spirit energy he had. It was normal for him to exceed 12 stones, but to exceed 24 stones was quite impressive. Didn't this mean that his spirit energy volume was even higher than Lu Yunhe's? Lin Jin thought about it. His high spirit energy volume might have something to do with the pulse-seeking technique he had been using to clear his acupoints and meridians every day. Who knew that the pulse-seeking technique would have such miraculous effects? Of course, it could also be because he drank Master Chef Liao's aged spirit wine. Only 24 spirit levitation stones were allowed on the second floor. Lin Jin planned to head up to the third floor to see how many stones he could reach. The wooden staircase leading up to the third floor was narrow, so it could only accommodate one person at a time. Lin Jin looked up and saw that there was no one on the staircase, so he continued up. Halfway up, a silhouette came down from the third floor. In a situation like this, the latecomer would usually give way and wait for the person to go up before going down. However, the person who came down didn't seem to see Lin Jin at all and continued walking down. Lin Jin was stunned. He took a closer look and saw that the person who came down was dressed in green and white. His facial features were as clear as jade, and there were 4 blood cloud patterns on his robes, representing his cultivation. His arrogant expression was the Friar Association's publicly acknowledged #1 disciple, Yang Jie. Lin Jin didn't expect to meet Yang Jie here. Just then, Yang Jie glanced at Lin Jin, frowned, and said, "Move aside." Giving orders seemed to be a matter of course. Lin Jin was displeased. He was about to go up. Even if someone had to give way, it should be Yang Jie. Was he supposed to go back the way he came? Even if you, Yang Jie, have something urgent to attend to, we can just squeeze together and get past each other. Hence, Lin Jin didn't move. Yang Jie said again, "Move aside." This time, his tone was clearly heavier and carried a hint of displeasure, as if he was interrogating, threatening, and reprimanding Lin Jin. Lin Jin had a bad temper. If he really had something urgent to attend to, he could just talk nicely and let him pass. It wasn't a big deal. But if you're so rude and think you're a cut above the rest, then sorry, no one would give in to you. Hence, Lin Jin retorted, "Move aside." Having said that, he continued walking up. Chapter 109. What #1 disciple? Go away if you want to act cool. Do you really think you're that great? No one in the Friar Association had ever dared to speak to Yang Jie like this. Everyone else had to be respectful whenever they saw him. Now that he was being rebuked, Yang Jie was stunned. Then, he reacted and his face darkened. He raised his hand and waved. A gust of wind came at him. He was trying to send Lin Jin flying to the side. Lin Jin felt the pressure. In terms of spells, he was clearly inferior to Yang Jie. After all, one was a professional beast appraiser, while the other was the #1 disciple in the Friar Association. Hence, Lin Jin could only take this gust of wind head-on. Fortunately, despite the strong wind pressure, he managed to endure it. Upon seeing this, Yang Jie stepped forward and pointed a finger at Lin Jin. Unable to dodge, Lin Jin had no choice but to use his spirit energy finger. This was one of the few offensive spells Lin Jin had mastered. As the 2 fingers met, spirit energy collided. Yang Jie was looking down on Lin Jin, and his strength was higher than Lin Jin's. The strength of his finger was enough to injure Lin Jin. In fact, Lin Jin was already injured from this clash. After all, Yang Jie was the #1 disciple in the Friar Association and the undisputed #1. Lin Jin wasn't afraid of pet beasts, but he was far from being able to handle him in person. If Lin Jin hadn't used his coiled wire needle to repel Yang Jie in the instant he was injured, he would have lost. Similarly, no matter how powerful Yang Jie was, he was immediately hit by Lin Jin's pulse-seeking technique's coiled wire needle. The needle pierced through his acupoints, and half of his arm went numb. This caused Yang Jie to be extremely terrified. He had always been a tyrant in the Friar Association, a man of his word. Whenever he ran into other disciples, they would have to make way for him. This was also the reason why he had developed a domineering habit. But today he met Lin Jin. Both of them were hot-tempered and fought at the slightest disagreement, resulting in injuries on both sides. Suppressing the numbness in his arm and the surging blood in his body, Lin Jin continued forward. As a man, he had to be tough when he needed to be. Either way, I'm going to fight you today. If you don't like it, let's fight again. Yang Jie gritted his teeth, showing no intention of making way. In fact, he was panicking. After all, he had no idea what was going on, and half of his arm went numb. But now that his reputation was at stake, he couldn't back down. One was up, and the other was down. They were about to collide. However, just as they were about to bump into each other, the two of them moved sideways in a very tacit manner, sticking close to each other and passing by each other. It was obvious that the two of them were putting up a front. In reality, neither of them wanted to make a move. In other words, they looked tough on the outside, but they were panicking on the inside. Both of them took a step back. Neither of them turned back. Lin Jin was heading upwards while Yang Jie was heading downwards. When Yang Jie reached the second floor, his body swayed and he nearly stumbled. He discovered that not only was half his arm numb, but even his right leg was numb. What kind of technique was this? There was no need to mention the shock in his heart. At that time, he only felt a pain in his armpit, as if he had been stabbed by something. He reached out to touch it, but he didn't feel anything. Little did he know that Lin Jin had retracted his coiled wire needle the moment it pierced him. The coiled wire needle could be used at will, but more importantly, it was too unpredictable. Forcing himself to walk out of the suspended stone pagoda, Yang Jie's forehead was covered in sweat. He stood still and circulated his energy to clear the meridians in his body. When the disciples who passed by saw Yang Jie, they bowed and gave way in fear of disturbing him. After an entire hour, Yang Jie finally took his leave. However, he was already extremely wary of that person. When he returned to the Friar Association, he would definitely investigate when such a ferocious person appeared. On the third floor, Lin Jin wasn't having a good time either. His opponent's spirit energy finger technique was far superior to his. After all, Lin Jin's spirit energy finger technique was mostly used to treat beasts. He didn't have any actual combat experience. What happened today made Lin Jin understand that if he fell behind, he would be beaten. If he wanted to become the #1 disciple in the future, he would have to overcome the mountain that was Yang Jie. After taking an energy-gathering pill and using the needle to treat his injury, Lin Jin was thinking about something. Previously, he only used the coiled wire needle for beast evaluation. Now that he was using it in actual combat, it was indeed unpredictable. His opponent didn't notice it at all. On the day of the tournament, Lin Jin would have to rely on this coiled wire needle technique to stand a chance of winning. As for whether people would call it a hidden weapon, Lin Jin didn't care. A cultivator's techniques included hidden weapons. Even if someone saw through it, he wasn't afraid. After recuperating for a while, Lin Jin was fine. His encounter with Yang Jie today was unexpected. It was an accidental feud, but so be it. Lin Jin had no intention of befriending him. Moreover, he would have to compete in the disciple tournament half a month later. No matter how he looked at it, Yang Jie was his main competitor. Once he was done recuperating, Lin Jin continued to test his spirit energy level. There were 3 sets of spirit levitation stones in each of the examination rooms on the 3rd floor. Lin Jin entered and cast a stone levitation spell. In an instant, 29 spirit levitation stones floated up. This was Lin Jin's current limit. Lin Jin tried to lift another stone, but gave up in the end. He couldn't do it. 29 stones of spirit energy was a terrifying amount. Lin Jin was quite satisfied with himself. This was 5 stones more than what Lu Yunhe had. Moreover, there was still some time before the disciple tournament. Lin Jin still had time to improve. Glancing at the time, Lin Jin decided to return to the Beast Appraisal Association and finish the appraisal and treatment of the registered pet beasts. Based on his current speed, he could finish 35 pets in a day. If he was serious, he could finish them all in half a day. Back at the consultation hall, Lin Jin saw an extra plaque, so he asked what was going on. Zhao Ying went up to him and said, "Someone sent it here early in the morning with a letter." Lin Jin took the letter and understood. It was from Chun Wenlin. Sure enough, the man didn't intend to give up just like that. But what was he doing earlier? Lin Jin didn't think much of it. It was just a plaque. Since it was delivered, he might as well keep it. But don't even think about changing Lin Jin's opinion of the Chen family. He began his regular beast appraisal and treatment. Numbers were put up outside, and people started coming in one after another. In the Beast Appraisal Association, Lin Jin's numbers were undoubtedly in high demand. Many people came early in the morning just to get their hands on Lin Jin's number. Lin Jin no longer relied on the Museum of Deadly Beasts for his beast appraisal and treatment. There were so many useful beast appraisal manuals in the museum that he wanted to learn and practice them. After all, the Museum of Deadly Beasts had come into being mysteriously. Who knew when it would disappear in the future? Lin Jin understood the principle of being prepared. Even if the Museum of Deadly Beasts disappeared in the future, he could still rely on his own abilities to appraise and treat beasts. However, all pet beasts that came here had to be recorded in the museum. Once Lin Jin started appraising beasts, it was easy for him to get lost in the flow of time. Among the pet beasts that came today, there were quite a few rare beasts. Just as Lin Jin finished appraising a rare beast and recorded it in the museum, the next moment, the museum's bell rang loudly, shocking the surroundings. Stunned, Lin Jin took a look and realized that the number of rare beasts he recorded in the museum had somehow reached 50. With that, a cultivation technique was handed down. Upon closer inspection, it was indeed part 2 of the beast energy formation. Chapter 110. Lin Jin was elated to see part 2 of the beast energy formation. This was earlier than he expected. Initially, Lin Jin thought he would have to wait until the next visitation hall opened and visitor number 7 brought 20 rare beast skins and blood before the museum's rare beast count could exceed 50. But it was better if it was earlier. Lin Jin studied part 2 of the beast energy formation. When he was free, he called Xiaohua over and transmitted part 2 of the energy formation to him through a blood contract. With that, Xiaohua could start cultivating part 2. As for part 3 of the beast energy formation, Lin Jin had a look. He needed to record more than 100 rare beasts. But at his current speed, it would only take a few days. Lin Jin remembered that the visitation hall only opened once every 7 days. The next opening would be tomorrow night. Truth be told, Lin Jin was looking forward to it. In the afternoon, Lin Jin rushed to the Friar Association, planning to start studying the cultivation method. But as soon as he arrived, he ran into Lu Yunhe. "Brother Lin, I've been waiting for you." Lu Yunhe pulled Lin Jin aside mysteriously. Lin Jin could tell that Lu Yunhe had something to say. "Brother Lin, did you get into a conflict with Yang Jie this morning?" Lu Yunhe asked softly. "Huh?" Lin Jin was surprised. He didn't remember telling anyone about this, so how did Lu Yunhe know? Noticing Lin Jin's bewildered expression, Lu Yunhe knew that it was true. "Brother Lin, how should I put this? I don't like that Yang Jie either, but it's not worth it to get into a conflict with him over a woman." Lu Yunhe's next words baffled Lin Jin. "What woman?" Lu Yunhe gave Lin Jin a "you're still pretending" look. "Everyone knows that you, Lin Jin, are going to challenge Yang Jie for that Chen Yuanyuan. And everyone knows that Chen Yuanyuan broke off her engagement with you because of Yang Jie." At this, Lin Jin's expression darkened. Who started this rumor? What a load of nonsense. Just then, a few cultivators came up to them, discussing as they walked. "Have you heard? Appraiser Lin Jean of the Beast Appraisal Association has passed the assessment and joined the Friar Association. This isn't news at all. That Lin Jean is quite pitiful to have his marriage annulled by a woman. How humiliating. Moreover, this woman did it because of Senior Yang Jie. That's why Lin Jean was so determined to enter the association so he could have a showdown with Senior Yang Jie to redeem himself. Is there such a thing? You must be ignorant. I even heard that this morning at the Levitation Stone Tower, Lin Jean had a conflict with Senior Yang Jie. That Lin Jean is just a beast appraiser. How could he possibly be Senior Yang Jie's match? I think so too. Maybe Lin Jean has been crippled by Senior Yang Jie. That's right, that Chen Yuan is really an outstanding beauty. To think that she could make appraiser Lin fall head over heels for her. The voice wasn't loud, but Lin Jean heard it loud and clear. F***CKM. Lin Jean was infuriated. On the other side, Yang Jie, who was practicing his spirit chi finger, also heard this rumor. There was a cracking sound. 10 feet away, a wooden target as thick as a palm was smashed into pieces by the force of his finger. The disciple who delivered the message was speechless, afraid to make a sound, afraid that he would be implicated. I was wondering why this person dared to provoke me on purpose. So it was because of this. In other words, he did it on purpose this morning. But the problem is, I don't F***king know any Chen Yuan. Yang Jie was fuming. Yang Jie had been curious about the other party's motives, but now he knew. Half of his body was still numb. However, he couldn't possibly tell anyone about this. It was too embarrassing. Hence, he bore a grudge against Lin Jean. Other than grudge, there was also fear. Although he didn't say it out loud, deep down, he already saw Lin Jean as a threatening enemy. Yang Jie thought highly of himself. After the conflict, he had investigated Lin Jin's background and found out that he was a rank 2 beast appraiser. However, beast appraisers were beast appraisers and cultivators were cultivators. Yang Jie still believed that his loss this morning was due to carelessness. If he had been a little more serious, he wouldn't have fallen for Lin Jin's trick. Go and find out who that Chen Yuan is, Yang Jie instructed his subordinates. Soon, Chen Yuan's situation was reported back. This included the conflict between Lin Jean and Chen Yuan at the entrance of the Red Leaf Flower Festival. After all, there were many onlookers. Yang Jie also found out that Chen Yuan was Chen Cheng's cousin. Called Chen Cheng over, Yang Jie ordered with a dark expression. Chen Cheng soon arrived. Greetings, Senior Yang. Chen Cheng was very respectful. They were under the same mentor in the Friar Association, but in terms of status, Yang Jie was undoubtedly the #1 disciple. Yang Jie said nothing as he stared at Chen Cheng. The latter looked up in confusion, but didn't show the slightest hint of guilt. Senior Yang? After a long while, seeing how calm Chen Cheng was, Yang Jie said, "Have you heard about the rumors out there?" He didn't say what the rumors were as he was testing the waters. Chen Cheng hesitated for a moment before nodding. Senior Yang, you must have called me here because of the rumors between my cousin and Lin Jean. I heard that my cousin, Chen Yuan, was indeed engaged to Lin Jean, but because my cousin admires Senior Yang, she broke off the engagement. At the entrance of the flower festival yesterday, my cousin and I even had a conflict with Lin Jean because of this. Lu Yunhe even stepped in to help Lin Jean. There were many onlookers, so this isn't a secret. Yang Jie went silent again. This time, Chen Cheng was very flustered, but on the surface, he still looked calm and composed. All right, you may leave. Yang Jie didn't ask any more questions. Chen Cheng bowed and left. When he was outside, he let out a long sigh. A smug grin appeared on his face as he mumbled to himself. Thank goodness, I came prepared. Otherwise, he would have seen through me. The rumors about Lin Jean, Chen Yuan, and Yang Jie were all made up by Chen Cheng. He was lucky. In the morning, he witnessed the conflict between Lin Jean and Yang Jie in an examination room on the 2nd floor of the Levitation Stone Tower. Back then, he thought this was an opportunity. He could use these rumors to intensify the conflict between Lin Jean and Yang Jie. More importantly, he could drag Lu Yunhe into this. It would be best if Lu Yunhe and Yang Jie were to fight to the death so that Chun Cheng could reap the benefits. Also, he could use these rumors to deceive his silly cousin, Chen Yuanyuan. Chen Cheng had long coveted Chen Yuanyuan's beauty, and he had always treated her as his woman. Back when Chen Yuanyuan and Lin Jin were engaged, it was Chun Cheng who secretly urged her to break off the engagement. Now, he was using these rumors to satisfy Chen Yuanyuan's vanity. But in reality, he was cutting off all possibilities between Chen Yuanyuan and Yang Jie. He knew that Yang Jie had always been arrogant, so how could he fall for Chen Yuanyuan? Especially with these rumors, it was impossible. The only risk was that Yang Jie was smart enough to have called Chun Cheng over just now because he suspected him. Chapter 111. Fortunately, I, Chun Cheng, am calm and collected. No matter how smart you are, what can you do to me without evidence? And that Lin Jin, I didn't expect him to become a rank 2 beast appraiser. My uncle, Chun Wenlin, is trying to curry favor with those in power. Now that Lin Jin has made a comeback, he's shamelessly trying to get close to him again. How can I let him have his way? Since all of you look down on me, I'll mess things up for all of you. At this thought, Chun Cheng laughed out loud. It was just that his laughter was very sinister. At this moment, Yang Jie had already gone to his teacher's quiet room to study alone. This was a privilege no one else had. Yang Jie's mentor, Yi Yuzhou, was a famous friar. He was ranked number 1 among all the mentors in Maple City's Friar Association. One was the number 1 mentor, while the other was the number 1 disciple. Yang Jie's way of doing things was obviously learned from Yi Yuzhou. The place where Yi Yuzhou cultivated was very special. It was built on top of a pond. Half of the floor was empty, and below it was the pond water. Inside the room, an elderly man was sitting cross-legged. There were 8 cloud patterns on his robes, indicating that his blood contract had reached the 8th realm. Yang Jie bowed before sitting down cross-legged. Yang Jie's pet beast, the white peacock, stood obediently at the side. Even though it was a rank 3 pet beast, it behaved obediently in this room. The white peacock was also staring at the pond water as if there was something in it. Today, I'll be talking about the path of pet beasts. Yi Yuzhou's lecture was incredibly profound. He was clearly imparting everything he knew to Yang Jie. Yang Jie, you must know that the highest level of a blood contract is the 9th realm. 9 is the limit, and it's almost impossible to advance to the 10th realm. But even after reaching the 9th realm, the improvement to your physical body mainly depends on your pet beast. You will only be strong if your pet beast is strong. This is an unchanging principle. I understand. Come on, use the Qi Finger Sword spell of the spiritual Qi Finger. Let me see if you have improved. Yes. Yang Jie cast the skill, and a sharp, imposing aura swept across the room. However, Yi Yuzhou frowned as he watched. Yang Jie, I can see that your right arm isn't channeling energy smoothly. Are you injured? Yang Jie was stunned. He had already tried his best to hide it, but he didn't expect his mentor to still see through it. Under Yi Yuzhou's interrogation, Yang Jie had no choice but to reveal his conflict with Lin Jin today. Hearing this, Yi Yuzhou frowned. You're saying that when you were fighting with someone, for some reason, you felt a pain in your armpit, as if it was being pricked by needles, and then your arm went numb and didn't listen to you? Yang Jie nodded with a hint of shame on his face. Who is that Lin Jin? Whose disciple was he? Why haven't I heard of it before? Yi Yuzhou was curious. If there was someone in the Friar Association who could go against Yang Jie, he should have known about it. At the mention of this, Yang Jie felt a little irritated, but he still answered honestly. That Lin Jin has only joined the association as a disciple today. You just joined today? Oh, she must have been recommended by a teacher. Who is it? Mr. Huangfu. Is that him? Yi Yuzhou's expression turned ugly. Just like Yang Jie and Lu Yunhe's relationship, Yang Jie and Huang Fuming were like fire and water. They had always been competing openly and secretly, neither willing to submit to the other. If that's the case, then Lin Jin is Huang Fuming's disciple. Great! I thought Huang Fuming could only produce Lu Yunhe. Who knew he had another trump card up his sleeve? He's planning to embarrass me during the disciples' tournament. Yang Jie, from today onwards, follow me into seclusion for 3 days. I'll teach you the third form of the finger energy blade, Yi Yuzhou said in a low voice. Yang Jie wanted to say that Lin Jin wasn't Huang Fuming's disciple, but after some thought, he decided against it. He too believed that Lin Jin and Huang Fuming must be related. Otherwise, why would Huang Fuming recommend him? Upon hearing that Yi Yuzhou would teach him the third form of the finger energy blade, Yang Jie's eyes lit up. He had only learned the first 2 forms and wanted to learn the third form, but Yi Yuzhou never taught him. Today, his mentor finally relented. Yang Jie had been eyeing the third form of the finger energy blade for a long time now. Also, I found some cultivation methods in some secret manuals. Perhaps you can impart them to pet beasts so they can cultivate and improve their realm. If that still doesn't work, I'll take you to visit some old friends at the Beast Appraisal Association headquarters and ask for their help. Yang Jie, your white peacock has been stuck at rank 3 for a long time now. If there's a chance for it to evolve, even if it's just showing signs of evolution, the improvement it will bring to you will far surpass the third form of the finger energy blade. Like I said, the strength of your pet beast is the key. For the entire day, Lin Jin was fuming. This rumor was too infuriating. Now, everyone was saying that Lin Jin joined the Friar Association for Chun Yuanyuan's sake, planning to face off against Yang Jie, the #1 prodigy. The rumors were so convincing. However, Lin Jin knew that he shouldn't pay attention to rumors. The more he tried to ignore them, the stronger they would become. I'll endure this. At night, Lu Yunhe arrived with Lu Ba as promised. Whether Lu Ba could evolve into rank 3 was of utmost importance to Lu Yunhe. Naturally, Zhao Ying, Lu Xiaoyun, and Han Dong wouldn't miss out on such a great learning opportunity. They had arrived long ago to assist Lin Jin in brewing the pills. "Brother, you're here." Lu Xiaoyun greeted Lu Yunhe when she saw him enter. Lu Yunhe was nervous. He didn't know if his Lu Ba could evolve. Even after receiving Lin Jin's affirmation, he was still uncertain. This was what it meant to be worried about personal gains and losses. At this, Lu Xiaoyun knew what her brother was thinking, so she said, "Brother, don't worry. If Master Lin says he can evolve, then he'll definitely evolve." "I hope so." Lu Yunhe stepped into the yard. However, he realized that Lu Ba wasn't following him. Turning around, he saw Lu Ba trembling at the entrance. "Lu Ba, come in." Lu Yunhe called out, but the latter didn't budge. From the Gale Lion's gaze, it was obvious that it was looking at something in the yard. Following the lion's gaze, Lu Yunhe saw Lin Jin's pet beast, Xiaohua. Xiaohua's eyes were closed, and his body was slightly hunched as if he could pounce at any moment to attack an enemy. Lu Yunhe didn't know what he was doing in this posture, but he could feel Xiaohua's aura growing stronger bit by bit. It was because of Xiaohua's aura that Lu Ba was reminded of the fear he felt when he was dominated. He didn't dare to step into the yard. In the end, it was Lin Jin who came out and carried the terrified Lu Ba inside. "Brother Lu, your pet beast is too cowardly," Lin Jin said. Lu Yunhe chuckled dryly, musing, wasn't it all because of the beating he received back then? "Before meeting your Xiaohua, Lu Ba, I've always been brave." "All right, since you're here, let's begin." Lin Jin caressed Lu Ba's head to confirm the evolution method. Then he took out his needles, and with a flick of his wrist, he inserted more than a dozen needles into Lu Ba's body. Lu Ba howled in pain, but didn't dare to move. He endured the pain obediently. Chapter 112. Lin Jin's acupuncture technique was unfathomable. No one present could tell how Lin Jin did it. Zhao Ying, Lu Xiaoyun, and Han Dong craned their necks and stared intently, unwilling to miss a single detail. Lu Yunhe couldn't help but exclaim, "Brother Lin, your acupuncture technique is truly amazing. You have the demeanor of a master." Lin Jin focused on his acupuncture. It was obvious that neither Zhao Ying nor Lu Yunhe could tell how amazing Lin Jin's pulse-seeking technique was. Lu Ba's lion was a rare beast with a hidden bloodline. Lin Jin planned to use acupuncture pills, and spirit seals to activate Lu Ba's hidden bloodline so that he could use the power of the bloodline's awakening to attempt evolution. This was also one of the evolution methods in the Museum of Deadly Beasts. Of course, none of the evolution methods had a 100% success rate. There was always a chance of failure. An hour later, a powerful aura exploded from Lu Ba's body as a whirlwind swirled around him. He was already showing signs of evolution. Lu Yunhe took a few steps forward in excitement. He was holding a teacup in his hand. Due to his nervousness, he was cracking it. It was rare for a rank 2 pet beast to evolve into rank 3. After all, rank 3 pet beasts were too rare in Maple City. Only a handful of experts owned them. Just then, Lin Jin frowned. Lu Ba's bloodline activation had caused his aura to skyrocket. Under normal circumstances, he should be able to show signs of evolution and break through to rank 3 in one fell swoop. But now, Lu Ba's aura was showing signs of weakening. As he reached his limit, Lin Jin noticed the problem. Lu Ba had a hidden bloodline, but it was too rare. Even if he activated the power of his bloodline, it would still be difficult for him to evolve. Even with Lin Jin's help, the success rate was increased to 80%. There was still a 20% chance of failure. Lu Ba's luck wasn't on his side as he happened to encounter this 20% chance. It was obvious that he couldn't continue his evolution. As his aura weakened, no matter how hard Lu Ba tried, he still felt weak. Lu Yunhe could see it clearly. Through the power of their blood contract, he could sense Lu Ba's reluctance and effort. This is bad. Lu Yunhe was panicking. If they couldn't take this last step, their next evolution would be even more difficult. This was common knowledge. A pet beast's evolution was like going against the current. If they didn't advance, they would fall behind. If they failed, the chances of them failing in the future would increase exponentially. Some even said that if a pet beast failed in its first evolution, it would never succeed in the future. These were all living examples. Many pet beasts who failed to evolve would sink into oblivion, never to rise again until they died. One could imagine how anxious Lu Yunhe was right now. With a cracking sound, the teacup in his hand was crushed into pieces. Lu Xiaoyan saw her brother's mood and stepped forward to say, "The advancement is not over yet." Lu Yunhe was stunned. Lu Ba was already powerless. Was there still a chance? Once this momentum was weakened, it was almost impossible to regain it. Lu Yunhe had seen too many cases in the Friar Association. Many of his fellow disciples had failed at a critical moment in their pet beast's evolution. As a result, they were never able to evolve again. "Master Lin, you must have a way," Lu Xiaoyan said firmly. Lu Yunhe glanced at Lin Jin. Sure enough, Lin Jin didn't give up just because Lu Ba's momentum was weakening. There was no sign of defeat or frustration on his face. "I was too impatient." Lu Yunhe took a deep breath. This time, he calmed himself down and didn't reveal any other emotions. On the other side, Lu Ba's momentum was weakening rapidly. He was about to fail his evolution. "Seems like it's hard for you to evolve just by hiding your bloodline." Lin Jin remained composed. The Museum of Deadly Beasts had a way to salvage a failed evolution. Hence, he wasn't in a hurry. With a flick of his finger, a needle flew out and pierced into Lu Ba's flesh, entering his veins. It was a coiled wire needle. Lin Jin was now familiar with its usage. Not only could this coiled wire needle be used to appraise pet beasts, but could also be used to clear veins. The needle traveled along Lu Ba's meridians to his heart. The pulse-seeking acupuncture technique was divided into external and internal acupuncture techniques. Most of the time, the external acupuncture technique was used. At present, many people were also using this method. However, the real power and essence of the pulse-seeking acupuncture technique lay in the internal acupuncture technique. The 5 internal organs were the biggest acupuncture points. However, Lin Jin's understanding of the pulse-seeking technique wasn't deep enough, nor was he familiar with it. Hence, he had never used internal acupuncture. Today, Lu Ba encountered a bottleneck in his evolution. He might not be able to break through on his own, so Lin Jin could only use internal acupuncture to help him. Under Lin Jin's control, The coiled wire needle pierced into an acupoint on Lu Ba's heart. Lu Ba instantly let out a lion's roar. Other than Xiao Hua, who was immersed in Beast Energy Formation Part 2 and turned a deaf ear to the roar, the rest of the pet beasts were startled. Goldie leaped down from the roof and curiously studied Lu Ba, whose aura had once again skyrocketed. The shadow wolf poked its head out of the beast pen to take a look as well. As for Zhao Ying, Lu Xiaoyun, and Han Dong's pet beasts, they were all in awe and restless. After using internal acupuncture, Lin Jin was worried that it wouldn't be safe, so he taught Lu Ba part of the Beast Energy Formation Part 1's contents. They were all incantations for pet beasts that could produce instant results. With that, Lu Ba gained a new level of intelligence. Learning from Xiao Hua, he lowered his body, and the aura he was releasing began to shrink as he absorbed the surrounding spirit energy. Crack, crack, crack. Lu Ba's skin and flesh began falling off as the strong wind sliced away at his flesh and bones like knives. At this, Lu Yunhe was so nervous that he forgot to breathe. The shredded flesh began to melt and new flesh grew out. In the process, Lu Ba's body expanded. It wasn't just one size bigger, it was several times bigger. So much so that Lin Jin's yard was almost entirely occupied by Lu Ba. If he were to raise his head, he would be taller than the roof. Just one of his lion claws would be the size of a millstone. Pet beasts at rank 2 could utilize elemental spirit energy. At rank 3, they could change their size. Lu Ba's sudden increase in size was proof enough. He really evolved. Lu Yunhe was so excited that he couldn't control himself. All the hairs on his body stood on end. His fists were clenched and his body was shaking. It seemed that this was the only way he could suppress his urge to shout and scream. Not too long ago, Lu Yunhe thought his evolution would fail. He was even beginning to accept this outcome. But now, happiness had come too suddenly. Rank 3 Lu Ba was also extremely ferocious. His size was simply oppressive. However, just as Lu Ba was about to let out a long roar after feeling the immense power, a low growl beside him made him feel as if he had fallen into an icy abyss. Xiao Hua, who had been quiet all this, while suddenly opened his eyes and growled at Lu Ba. It was obvious that Lu Ba's advancement had disturbed Xiao Hua's cultivation of the second part of the beast energy training technique, which made Xiao Hua very unhappy. Chapter 113. Lu Ba's roar was stuck in his throat. Even though he had broken through to rank 3 and his strength had skyrocketed, he was still fearful of Xiao Hua. Wild beasts had their own standards of strength. Even if Lu Ba had evolved, he still wouldn't dare to provoke Xiao Hua. All right, there's no need to roar. You might startle others. Lin Jin looked at the large creature before him and went over to pat it. Lu Ba immediately shrunk back to his normal size. Brother Lin, I will never forget your kindness. Lu Yunhe immediately went over and bowed. He bowed with extreme sincerity. All these years, in order to help Lu Ba evolve, Lu Yunhe had tried everything he could think of. He visited famous beast appraisers all over the country and tried many methods, but none of them worked. Lu Yunhe knew a little about Lu Ba's situation. His pet beast was actually limited in talent. It was already difficult enough for him to get promoted to rank 2. Getting to rank 3 depended on luck. However, in the Friar Association, if he wanted to advance further, his pet beast would have to evolve. In terms of effort, Lu Yunhe was confident that he wouldn't lose to anyone. Even Yang Jie, who was known as Maple City's Friar Association's #1 disciple prodigy, was at the 4th realm like him. The only reason Yang Jie could surpass him was because his pet beast was rank 3. Now that his pet beast had broken through to rank 3, Lu Yunhe's confidence soared. He even had the urge to compete with Yang Jie to see who was the true #1. Lu Yunhe was in high spirits and his blood was boiling. But the next second, he suddenly thought of something. Wait a minute. Now that Lin Jin was also a disciple of the Friar Association, if he were to go up against Lin Jin, who would have a higher chance of winning? For some reason, at this thought, Lu Yunhe suddenly felt very uncertain. Logically speaking, Lin Jin had just become a disciple and hadn't learned anything yet. Not only did his blood contract realm not improve, but he also didn't know any spells. One had to know that these things required at least several years of polishing and accumulation before they could be improved. But even so, Lu Yunhe still had a strange thought. If he were to encounter Lin Jin on the day of the disciple tournament, could he win? After thinking about it, Lu Yunhe felt relieved. His brother Lin was different from ordinary people in all aspects, and couldn't be treated with common sense. If the day really came when they had to fight in the disciple competition, Lu Yunhe had thought it through. Regardless of whether he was a match for Lin Fan or not, he would give up. Who asked us to owe them a huge favor? Lin Jin obviously had no idea how much Lu Yunhe was thinking about. He had really put in a lot of effort to help Lu Ba evolve this time. But before he could stretch, he heard hurried footsteps outside the door. "Appraiser Lin, there's an emergency." Outside, an apprentice rushed in, panting. At the same time, a few people carried in a wooden plank. Someone was lying on top of it. Lin Jin immediately frowned. There were bloodstains all over the person's body. It was a frightening sight. "What's going on?" Lin Jin got up at once. When he got closer, he saw a young man lying on the plank. However, his eyes were tightly shut and he was unconscious. On this young man's chest was a large fox. The fox had been beaten into a bloody pulp. Lin Jin had a feeling that the bloodstains on the floor belonged to this large fox. He could also see that the wounds on the fox's body were so deep that bones could be seen. It was a tragic sight. Lin Jin's scalp went numb at this sight. One of the people carrying the plank came forward and said, "Appraiser Lin, we found this man on a small road outside the city this morning. The fox was lying on this man's body. We thought it was a wild beast attacking someone, so we tried to chase it away. But who knew that somehow this beast's flesh and blood had fused together with this young man's? We couldn't chase it away no matter how hard we tried." Another apprentice chimed in. "At first, we always went to the city's medical hall. But the people there said that this was a wild beast attacking someone, so they had to send him here. The emergency hall couldn't treat him, so we sent him to appraiser Jia Qian, but she couldn't treat him either. Along the way, we met appraiser Gao Jiang, and he told us to send him directly to you." Lin Jin looked up, but didn't see Gao Jiang. Instead, he saw Jia Qian standing behind him. When she noticed Lin Jin's gaze, she quickly lowered her head to avoid his gaze. However, this process consumed a lot of spirit energy, and he was sweating profusely. Glancing at the fox demon, Lin Jin flicked his finger and used the needle technique to treat his wounds. Obviously, he was using the treatment method from the Museum of Deadly Beasts. Since this fox demon was willing to risk his life to save someone, it probably wasn't a monster like the black snake. Hence, Lin Jin decided to save him as much as he could. The fox demon was clearly stunned when his acupuncture point was pierced by the needle. Then, he reacted quickly and cooperated with Lin Jin. At the same time, the flesh under the fox demon's abdomen began to fall off, slowly separating from the young man below. The young man was only able to survive because the fox demon used its own heart to help his blood flow. Otherwise, the young man would have been long dead. Taking out a pill, Lin Jin tossed it to the fox demon. It leaped up and swallowed the pill. One man and one beast, they had a tacit understanding. As a rank 3 monster, its regenerative abilities were extremely strong. It could now move freely again. It glanced at the man on the ground, then at Lin Jin. Then, in a flash, it went up to the roof, and in another flash, it was gone. It left. Lin Jin was curious, but if the fox demon wanted to leave, he couldn't stop it. He first checked on the young man. His life was no longer in danger. Speaking of which, both Lin Jin and the fox demon were the young man's saviors. Previously, the fox demon shared a blood bond with him to extend his life. Then, Lin Jin used the pulse-seeking technique to mend the young man's heart. Outside, no one had actually left, including the farmers who rescued the young man. They were also discussing in private what that fox demon was. Suddenly, Lin Jean pushed open the door and called them in. When they entered, they were dumbfounded. There were signs of stitching on the young man's chest, but judging by his breathing, he should be fine. Appraiser Lin, where's the fox that injured him? Someone couldn't resist asking. Lin Jean shook his head. It's dead. He's fine now. Send him to the clinic. Although the farmers were suspicious, they didn't ask any questions. Chapter 116. With just one breath, Lin Jean could feel the effects. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the effects were instantaneous. Putting aside the question of whether this breathing technique could raise his blood contract level, just the fact that he could calm himself down, sharpen his vision, and clear his mind after breathing was already impressive enough. It would be good to practice more on a daily basis. This breathing technique had a name, Taoist Tai breathing technique. Just the name itself was impressive enough. Lin Jean was curious where the Museum of Deadly Beasts got its hands on these things. However, the museum's origins were shrouded in mystery, so Lin Jean couldn't find the answer for now. After 3 breaths, the surrounding spirit energy was completely stirred. Humans had weaker senses, so they didn't notice it, but the pet beasts in the room were startled and looked around. Xiaohua, who was lying beside Lin Jean, merely looked up before going back to napping. After cultivating Beast Energy Formation Part 2, Xiaohua felt a little drowsy. Whenever he had the chance, he would lie down and doze off. Lin Jean felt the spirit energy being inhaled and the murky air being exhaled. Encouraged, he continued breathing. This was spirit devouring. To increase the efficiency, Lin Jean even used the pulse-seeking technique to prick a few of his acupoints to increase the rate of breathing. 10 breaths. In just 10 breaths, Lin Jean had devoured all the spirit energy in the spirit library. There was no more spirit energy. The spirit energy here was thin to begin with. If it were anywhere else, it wouldn't even be 1/10 of the spirit energy here. Lin Jean could feel that spirit devouring was no longer effective. It was like fishing. All the big and small fishes in this area had been fished out. No matter how amazing this spirit-devouring technique was, there were no more fish left to catch. Lin Jean had no choice but to stop. The spirit-devouring breathing technique was very powerful. Perhaps in ancient times, it was an incredible cultivation technique. But now, this cultivation technique had no effect. The spirit energy in the library was so thin that he couldn't even take 10 breaths. There wasn't even enough spirit energy outside. Hence, it wasn't a wise choice to rely on this technique to improve his strength at this stage. However, even if he only took 10 breaths, the effects are obvious. Lin Jean could feel his physical strength improving, but by how much he had no idea. He could imagine that in ancient times, when spirit energy was abundant, if he used this spirit-devouring technique, he might be able to raise his blood contract level to the 9th realm in just one night. If spirit devouring didn't work, he would change. Vein forging method. When Lin Jean said this was the most suitable cultivation method, he wasn't being baseless.